All right, guys, we're going to be shooting into a little bit of Q&A. You guys having fun tonight?
Yeah!
Thanks, guys. So, it's getting late. Okay. Thanks, guys. So, guys, we're going to wrap the day. I love the day that we've had together here. This is the end of the second day. You guys are the last people here, deep into the second day. I'm proud of you guys for being here. What I want to do right now is I've got my two old buddies, Madison and Sam, right here, and I'm going to kind of just pass the mic back and forth like this to them and also for myself. And I just like you guys to hit us with a little bit of Q&A or questions. And whatever it is that you want to know about personal growth, we'll just do the best we can to answer for a little bit, and then we'll wrap it for the day and we'll be back tomorrow, okay? By the way, if you're watching this at home, I would recommend that you come to these events. This event that we're doing here is completely for free. Can you guys collaborate? This is completely for free? Yeah. Does it surprise you that something like this exists completely for free? Does it surprise you guys?
Yeah.
Do you guys... did you expect to come to something this incredible totally for free at any point in your life?
No.
You see what I'm saying, right? So sometimes the best things in life are for free. We're going to be doing another one of these in Seattle, another one in Portland, Hawaii, Chicago, New York, Boston, Philly, DC, Houston, Austin, Dallas. We're going to go to Phoenix, Vegas. We're going to be in Orlando, Miami. Juliet is going to be all over Europe, European cities. Go to www.selfhelpfreetour if you'd like to attend one of these free events. We did this one right up here at the mansion. Mansion was completely ram-packed for most of this event. It's the end of the night. It's a little bit thinner right now, but there was a couple hundred people up here, right here in my home. You might recognize this little space from when we do the live broadcast. This is right in my home. Are you guys surprised I did this event like right up in my crib? Did that surprise you guys a little bit? Yeah, but I just thought it would be fun. And if you couldn't make it to LA, then definitely make it to a free event. Again, www.selfhelpfreetour.com. We're doing these all over the place, several day free events. We go really, really deep. And our aim is to completely blow your mind and to blow your mind of what's possible out of something like this. So in that spirit, what I'd like you guys to do is give some really, really great questions. We got me here, got some amazing guests here right now, blast from the past, whatever is the best possible questions that you have. We're gonna go deep on this. Any questions, just let it rip, okay, guys? Stuff that you think that would blow people's minds, okay? Who's up? Hand up. You could go first.
How do you balance following your passion without ruining your life?
Okay, so I think what you're asking me at a core is you want to make A, more money, but B, you want to have fun making more money.
Yeah.
And this is a very, very complex question. I'm going to give you a quick answer, but the quick answer to that of how to make money with your passion is what people will say is like a Venn diagram. And you want to pick something that you're passionate about so that it engages you, but also something that you get paid for. So I have a lot of hobbies that I am very passionate about, but I'm not going to get paid to do those hobbies, right? So you've got to find something that you like to do and something that gets you paid. And that's just the bottom freaking line, okay? So this is a very, very deep topic. I will encourage you to go look at a couple other videos I've done in depth on this, but you've got to find something where they're see, when I got in the seminar industry, I understood the various different models of monetization, and we don't run a huge company, but we have an 8-figure business because we understand what it means to monetize. So I have spent years understanding, if you guys see this free event right here as an example, okay? What you guys don't understand, and this is me joking, but kind of not joking, this is a modern wonder of mathematics. This is me, and Madison gets it. This is us, Madison can attest this. This is us sitting here for several years saying, how do we make a completely free seminar and somehow run the rest of the company? And people will often, they'll devolve into this thing like, well, they'll just do a bunch of sales there. When in reality, this event now has been, this ran from 7 p.m. until 1 a.m. the first night, 2 p.m. until we're around 1 a.m. or whatever it is tonight. And how many minutes of sales have we done up in this room? Probably less than 5 or 10 minutes off of 2 full days. And we'll just say, oh, there's some other stuff if you want to go deeper on it. We don't do a ton of sales at it. I'm not ashamed of that. If I ever want to do a ton of sales events, I'll do a ton of sales events. I wouldn't be ashamed of it at all. But as of the way that we've currently done it, while we'll sell a couple things at a free event, largely we put these on for you guys to be able to learn. And what that means is that it's a miracle of modern math. So we have to sit there finding a million other little areas that we can monetize, and it is just math upon math upon math upon math upon math upon math upon math. And it's unfortunate because people who have never really created something, they probably don't have a respect for how much math goes into something like this. Like in order to, because this is what you'll notice when you run a business, okay? If I say to you guys, do you want to have like free events all over the world, free events? That sound good? Say yes or no. Do you like that? Yes? Yeah. Free events all over the world. Sound good? Yeah. Okay. Free videos that cost us millions of dollars in burn rate per year to release. Want millions of dollars in free videos? Sounds good, right? Yeah. That sounds good, right? Yeah. Millions in free videos, all for you, right? Amazing, right? And the pro, you want to have, like, look, even this free event, you had amazing customer service and people calling you and following up with you and giving you touch points and things like that. You want them to all get paid well, right? We don't want to shirk our team, right? You want them to get paid well, right? Yeah, and then you guys want me to be a good father to my children, right? Like, be a good dad and, like, be really, really good father to your children, right? Right? Want me to be a good dad, right? But then, say I teach anything about social skills, you guys want me to be out at bars and clubs till 3 or 4 in the morning working on those skills, right? You don't want me to teach bad stuff. You want me to be out there till 4 in the morning learning about social skills to teach that to you, right? Right? Yeah. Sound good, right? You guys would probably like it if I release a book, right? A book? Sound good, a book? Yeah, but you guys also want videos to come out, right? You guys want me to have videos out, correct, right? Now, you see my camera team here, my instructor team, everybody, you want to make sure they all get paid well, right? Yes. They should get paid well, right? Yeah, all of our back-end team, they should all get paid well, right? Yeah. Now, you guys want me to have really good cameras, right? I should have really great cameras, right? That should all be good, right? Now, you guys also, if you guys take one of our proper programs, you guys also want that to be like as cheap as possible, right? Like you want to get a really good deal on that, right? Everybody should get a really good deal on that, right? Everyone should get a good deal. Now, you guys also want to be able to come up to the free mansion seminar, right? Like you come up and take it in a mansion, right? And that's all free. Shouldn't that be really, really good, right? That's really, really good. Now, you guys want me to also go all around the country shooting beautiful videos in like Yellowstone National Park with a full camera team. We're up in Alaska coming up next. That trip's only going to be $80,000. That's not bad, right? To make the videos look really good. And then everyone wants to be shot at seminars on beautiful cameras with a full-on editing team. You guys want that to exist, right? That's pretty cool, right? Like all that. And then you guys want me to sit there working around the clock and teaching around the clock to be able to make all this stuff available, right? And then you guys want me to be lean and not stressed. Oh, you have a pot belly, but you're like a self-help coach. Why are you a little bit stressed with a bit of a pot belly? Just because I want you to work 90,000 hours a day, but you're a little bit stressed, and maybe you should look a bit more calm while you work 90,000 hours a day for me, and don't look weird, and look normal, and look balanced. You should look okay. You have to work 90,000 hours per day for me, because you know what I want? You know what I think? Here's how I would do it. What? You only need $9 a month to run that business, just like a website, bro. This is what you have this high run rate? You just run a website. It's like $9 a month to run a business like yours. You just talk. Yeah, right? You guys get what I'm saying here? Yeah. Welcome to my life. Okay? Well, and the team, we love you. And the team wants, and everybody on the team would rather work less hours to get paid more, and everybody wants more program to pay less, and that's your life when you run a business. And you've got to be at peace with that, as everybody who didn't produce what you produce sits there ripping you to shreds as a way for them to avoid putting in the work to do it. So congratulations. Welcome to your life as an entrepreneur. You work around the clock. You try to make everybody happy. Nobody's ultimately happy. Everybody hates you, but you get to be like, I ran a business. 9 to 5, freedom. You can work any 90,000 hours in a 24-hour day that you want to, and you're free now. You're out of the matrix, yo. Yeah. Okay? So that's basically what it's like. That's what running a business is like. And, you get to a point where you resign yourself to say, well, you know what? I value what I'm doing. I value the mission. I get it that that's part of it, and I accept it. And you just accept it. Putting yourself out there, you accept maybe people like not liking what you do or having their own opinions about it. People that don't know you, don't know your numbers, don't know what you're about, don't know your passion, your hustle, your care, your love for the people that you're working with, the love for the people that trust you to be in a leadership position. And it just is what it is. It's okay. So that's what you go through as you build it. It's fine. And the best part of the whole thing is that as a leader, you don't even talk about this. You just grit your teeth. You don't complain about it, and then you go to like little entrepreneurs groups, and at the entrepreneurs group, everyone just sits there looking traumatized. They're like, this kind of sucks. The money's not worth it. This sucks. I hate this, right? And you're like, I hate it too. And you're like, do you want to cry? It's like the movie Fight Club, and like a guy's like crying in the big dude's titties, like in a Meatloaf's titties. And you're like, I hate this. I'm gonna kill myself. Like, don't kill yourself. Just keep going. Come on, man. Just keep hustling. You'll get there someday, little buddy. And you're like, okay, I'll keep going, right? And then everyone's like, look at them. Look at that entrepreneur. Boo, 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 as they consume and don't do it themselves. That's what a lot of it is like. But you do it out of love. And you get it that like people that have not been in that position will never fully understand what you deal with, and they're not meant to. And you're gonna have that even for any of you in here that could be fathers. You'll have that too, where maybe your kid looks at you like as a teenage kid looks at you like a dickhead, and literally like you spend like $2 million to raise them from like birth until older, and then literally your kid calls you after they have their first kid, and they're like, Dad, I love you. I didn't understand. This is tough. This sucks. How did you do this? I love you so much. I'm so sorry for judging you. And that's what it's like. Okay, that's what happens. And many people that I work with in the past, like Sam. So after we worked together in the past, right?
We did.
And then having, now being on the other side of it, right? Like kind of running your own thing.
Yeah.
Do you relate a little bit more to like what it is that I would deal with now? Like how do you see it differently?
100%. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's like when you experience something that you've never experienced before, and then you experience it, you're like, oh, a greater appreciation for, Pops over here, I could call him. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, it's definitely one of the things that I would notice is that there is that. When you first start, it should be easy, man. Like everyone, it's easy. It's easy to be an entrepreneur. It's easy. And then you do it and you're like, hang on.
Yeah.
Hang on. It's not quite as easy. And then you get through it, but you find the love in it.
Have you ever had a month where you worked around the clock for a month to lose money?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a lot of people don't get that. Yeah. You could have months or years that you just work around the clock to lose money as you're frantically trying to figure it out. You wake up every day. And literally, thank you. You wake up every day and you're watching, it's like this life meter of like your reserve just going down and you're just scrambling to make it work. And you have a vision, right? I had a vision. I could have found ways to do it cheaper, but I had a vision to do things in a very, very specific way. That's the only way that I felt compelled by it or passionate about it. I didn't want to make videos in front of a whiteboard with an iPhone. I just didn't want to. I wanted something different. So I found a way to do it. And I had a vision to make free events all over the world. And I found a way to do it. It was a lot of math. And it's ongoing a lot of math, but I found ways to do it. And I've kept it going for 2 decades now, and it's tough. But I've found ways to do it. I've found ways to get out free content. I have found ways to do it, okay? YouTube pays you nothing, guys. We don't make money off YouTube. I know that you think that we do. You don't. I've got people that come up to parties here that have 10 million followers that are broke, okay? And then they see us with our little followers. They're like, but you live here? They don't understand it. So it's just, if there's a will, there's a way. And we always wanted to provide resources for people so that they could have these experiences, what you guys are having this weekend, okay? You guys enjoying your experience this weekend?
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Speaking of that part, I heard you say you want to find the ability to do something that you love.
Yeah, without ruining my life.
Without ruining your life.
I won't be stupid about it.
Okay. When I think about doing something that you love, I don't think about that at all in my life, first of all. I mean, I love doing this, but that's not what I think about. Like, I look at your chair. I'm like, the guy that made your chair, does he love chairs? The guy that made the sole for the bottom of your shoe, is he like a sole fanatic? Like, is he like have a rubber fetish? Like, I don't think so, right? Like, people just kind of did what was practical, what they were good at. And then they said, how can I make value for others? And then after they made value for other people, then they just said, I enjoy helping people and also supporting my family. Let me go do more of this. When you do something and you start to be successful at it, I think you're going to get what's called a feedback loop, and it's going to be positive. You're going to see positive things happen. You're like, oh, okay, I enjoy doing it. Because if you sucked at something, you would just not want to keep doing it. You probably love doing what you're good at. You ever had like a video game you picked up, I don't know, like was it Minecraft or whatever? Assassin's Creed or whatever the games are. I'm like dating myself as an old man. I'm like, whatever the games are, the kids play, right? So whatever game you pick up, if you sucked at it and it was like, Mortal Kombat on hard difficulty, one punch, you're dead. Okay, if you ever play a game like that, you would like give up on that game in like a week. You'd be like, I'm not getting anywhere in this game. But because you made a little bit of progress in the game over a few weeks, you're like, you feel good enough to keep going with it. And I think business is a lot like that. You will fall in love with whatever is good for you. Same thing with relationships. You will like more who treats you well. Hopefully, if that person's treating you well over a long time, you'll fall for it and you'll go for it. And I think that's really important. Also, another thing you mentioned too, somebody said the size of the audience, or Owen was talking about like how big the audience is. I don't know if you saw this. There was this woman on TikTok. She had like 18 million followers, and she went to Comic-Con somewhere. I don't know if you guys seen that. Yeah, what city was that in?
I think it was like LA.
Okay, like LA or something like that. She had this Comic-Con thing, 18 million followers. She did like a meet and greet, and literally 0 people showed up for it. the gas, right? Imagine how that felt. You're like, people love me. And it's like, yeah, they love you, but they don't have a relationship with you. And so it's not about like how many viewers you have. It's not about how many people are like retweeting you. It's not about how many followers you have. It's about the deep connections with people that you have in your audience and in your tribe and your movement. And do you have relationships with those people? And that's what we try to do here. And that's why you are here up until 1 o'clock in the morning with us, because you have a relationship with us and we're giving you something. We're putting something and then we get your attention and we bless you with information and things that we've learned, and that's how we really go deep in this relationship. A lot of people that have businesses forget to do that. They're just like transaction. But when we do this, when we do the long stuff, we also lose out. That's like what Owen's talking about, the burn rate. We lose out from doing the long form stuff, the free stuff, but it's worth it to the long-term success and relationship that we all have together. So that's the idea behind it. It's not like an immediate payoff that we feel great about. It's like long-term, what's the vision? What do you want to give to the people? What do you want to give to the audience? And how do you guys have the relationship that's synonymous, going back and forth over a long time?
Yeah, my favorite book, and John, you could pull up here, please. My favorite book was The Three Little You could come on up, my man. Come on up. So my favorite book was, and then Ibrahim, Ibrahim, whenever he goes through the lane, you'd go to the crowd shot, okay, buddy? Okay, so go to the crowd shot. There you go. And then we get resituated, okay? We're shooting live here. So basically what it is, so he's going to resituate. So John, you're going to resituate to see the audience, and then you'll go to a crowd shot because that's weird. So John, you're going to turn around, face the audience, pull into me, come up here to Madison. There you go. Go in the corner there. And then when we talk to people, you can get their face. Now get a good shot of his face. And then Ibrahim, go back to that shot. There you go. You look so funny there. You look like a kid that got caught with something. Okay, so so basically, so we're just trying to iterate our little thing here in live time. So basically what we have is that when I was a kid, I read The Three Little Pigs, house made of, what was it, hay, straw, stick, and bricks, right? So you're building a big house. What Madison is referring to here is these funny anomalies where you have people that have these huge followings, but they can't monetize it because they just went for like crap traffic. It's just pure garbage traffic. You see these like weird like hater channels on YouTube. These guys have garbage traffic. These are non-buyers. They're not cultivating an audience of buyers. Buyers are people that are generally positive and have value for their time. So anytime that you gossip online, you're cultivating an audience of non-buyers. You might make like a low-level six-figure business with that, but you're gonna really struggle to get 7 figures. You're gonna really almost impossible to get to 8 figures doing that. You want to be working with people who have a high premium on their time. Okay, could you guys give me a hand for asking that question? I appreciate it, bro. Thanks. Who's up? Hands up. Who's up? Okay, let's pass it to him. Okay, let's go. Stand up.
So, I really love your approach of these sort of hybrid work and social life strategy and getting the best of both worlds, right? There's plenty of people who do one side, plenty of people who just do the other side, but like you guys are masters of that, right? So how do you know when it's time to go all out into one or the other? And do you ever try to sort of balance them? Like what are the sort of nuances there?
Okay, I like that. Okay, thank you guys. So, and then you go to me. Ibrahim, you shoot over to me. Yeah, and then if you want, John, you could pull a little bit back behind that table there. You could squeeze in there. And then shoot, show me the front shot again, please. Show me the front shot again, please. Show me the full body one. And then John, you can try shooting me now. Go to John. There you go. There's some nice little shots. So you guys can play around with that, okay? So what you're talking about here is anytime that I only go out and work on social skills, my social skills get incredible, but my business is not as successful. So anybody who tells you, oh, it's like you can have balance and be excellent, I think that that's not realistic to the way that the human brain is wired. The way the human brain is wired is that if you just become this massive stress basket, angry, focused person, you'll tend to make more money. But I think the bigger question is, would you want to trade lives with somebody like that? So I think a lot of people they're it's like somebody that you see on steroids, unless they are making specific money from bodybuilding, that it's one of those things where it doesn't make any sense to take steroids. Like I see people that are taking steroids, and I'm thinking like, why are you over optimizing for one metric? So, you see somebody who has $1 billion, unless that is a very socially conscious business and that there's a mission involved, I believe that they are over optimized. You do not need $1 billion. Now people hear that and they say, oh, that's a limiting belief. I believe that they are generally over optimized on that one metric. Again, if you're trying to build something that you super duper believe in at the highest level, then fine, that makes sense, right? Because you believe in the mission. So even though you spent your life miserable, you're not really miserable because you believe in the mission of what it is that you're doing. I kind of described, some of the challenges that I have, for example, is that even though they're frustrating, I believe in the mission that I'm doing, so it's okay. But what I'd say to you guys is, you don't necessarily have to just optimize for money. Whoever said that life is purely optimized for money? So you can have periods where you work on social skills, and you can have periods, where you make a lot of cash. Okay, so it's a mix of both.
It's sort of like when to know when to do one and when to know when to do the other.
Well, that's great. I saw him do it the best I've ever seen it.
Right.
So I saw even there would be month on, month off. 1 month on business, 1 month on socializing. But the one thing that I saw that I started incorporating in my life a lot more was creating a flywheel. So your business is now part of your socializing. It's your social circle. So you're not only connecting with people. That's why online business are great, because the people you're interacting with are online. You can go meet up with them. They're usually pretty social because their businesses are online. They're used to talking to people. And if you get to know a few of these people, you'll find that, 1 out of every 10 might be an absolute awesome person, right? Their social skills are on point. They've got something about them. And what I would find is, like, every 10 people I would meet through business, there'd be that one guy that I'd be like, that's the guy I want to hang out with. He would have his social circle on point. He would have his friends. He would have, any types of people that he wanted to. And what I found most of all, it was they would leverage someone else. So it was all about leverage that I saw with entrepreneurs, especially their social life. Yeah. It's like you don't have enough time to do both. You can do both, but as Owen said, one's going to suffer. One's really going to suffer if you put one in the other. So what they did was they leveraged their time. I've only got 8 hours, I've only got 12 hours, however many hours you work. So what can I do in my 30 minutes that I can organize an event or I can organize to hit people up? And that's what I do most of all. I will put 30 minutes in my calendar, message as many people I can, try to make a plan for that afternoon so that I'm still optimizing for my work schedule. So that could be at 10 o'clock in the morning, that could be 5 p.m., usually earlier the better. And you'll find that you can start to work all during the day and you still have social activities in the nighttime. So you never want to neglect it, because if you neglect it, that's going to hurt you, like hurt your soul. You're going to feel run down, and then you're going to feel bitter and nothing. It feels like you're doing all of this stuff for money, but for what? You're just doing it for money, or you're appeasing clients, or this or that. So there's nothing to it. So you have to give yourself almost a little reward, which I saw you do month on, month off. But that month would be excruciating, right? That would be the most, like, never seen someone work harder. But after that month, okay, let's take the foot off a little bit. The business is going well. Let's go socializing, pick it up after a couple of days. And so it was this on and off kind of not treading water, but one on, one off, one on, one off. And I saw that work very effectively for you. It doesn't work for everyone, but it would have worked effectively. It could be 2 weeks. Ty used to do 3 months, didn't he?
Yeah.
3 months on, 3 months off?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, and there's a million different ways that we've done it. It's not like some strict 1 month on or off thing. We've done a mix of, like, work in the day, go out at night. We've done a month on, a month off. We do all sorts of different stuff like that. Like, look, that's just part of being a young hustler. It just is what it is, okay? Could you guys give me a hand for that question? We'll keep it moving. And what we'll do, too, is, Ibrahim, is that if we get like if you guys that are watching live from home have a great question, we could also, what's up guys? If you guys are watching it live from home and you have a great, fantastic question that you think that people would benefit from, Ibrahim, I'll let you evaluate that question and you can pick the very best question. You'll see them come up probably between now and the next question that we'll do here in the live audience. But if you're at home right now, you got a great question, let us know, and Ibrahim, you can pick it, okay? Okay, what's the next question, guys? We'll pass it around. Let's pass it to him. Okay, let's roll. Stand up. And when you stand up, look a little bit more alert. Like you have this look where this is what you look like right now. You're like that. Like own your space, okay? Okay.
Got you. All right. So I personally have noticed that we talk a lot about communicating with people in general, speaking to them very quickly. Well, not quickly. Sorry, I'm questioning.
Yeah, it's okay. Okay, you're okay.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay, keep rolling.
What I was asking is, how do you make sure that you're speaking to your higher self and getting your intuition in check? What do you do to really hear yourself when there's a lot of noise coming out of everything else?
Could you give me a practical example?
A practical example. Let's say you really need to know if you're going to make this business decision. Mm-hmm. Do you sit with yourself and you get the answer immediately, or do you have to wait for a second and see if that's the real answer?
Okay, have a seat. Okay, thank you. Okay, so
that probably wasn't good.
Okay, so I'll give my take, and I think Madison's got a good answer too. So the way that I do it is, and this really pisses people off, is I keep a range of different opinions around me. So whether that's like left wing, right wing, spiritual business, people that are foodies, people that are carnivore diet or vegan, it's almost like looking at the same phenomenon under a microscope, and you're going and getting each different take. There's a funny exercise that I do at the end of a lot of live trainings. I call it a 360, where I have each person get feedback from everybody that was at the training of what it was that everybody else saw in them, and they give them both positive and critical feedback, as well as a good direction going forward. And it's amazing that when you do the 360, it really is a full spectrum 360 analysis, and it's freaky because it feels like you wouldn't want to lose any piece of that feedback. Like every single piece of that feedback is really, really interesting. So I will get 360 feedback, and it's kind of like, it almost feels like everybody's right. Like you're kind of being pulled in different directions. But notice that like, I don't care about the opinion of like some other YouTuber that's trying to get clicks and controversy. I don't care about some media person who, got indoctrinated at some weird indoctrination college and then is causing a bunch of trouble. But you know who I do care about? My advisor's opinion. You know who I do care about? My paying client's opinion. So I care about my family, my good friends, and like basically the people who support me and who have my interests at mind, right? So when they say don't care about what anybody thinks of you, I care what my coaches think of what I'm doing. So I have a range of different advisors, and it's an unfortunate thing because you can see that most people are really in a bubble. So most of my spiritual friends, as soon as you talk about anything money related, they start rolling their eyes, they start looking at you like you're dumb, but then meanwhile they want to borrow money off of you. So it's, that meanwhile they're stealing your granola bar. And so it's coming out one way or another, right? Or then you talk to any of your entrepreneur friends and they literally call anybody with any spiritual ideas like woo-woo losers, they're idiots. But then you're looking at this person, they don't have a genuine smile, they have shark-looking eyes, they don't look like they enjoy life. You rarely meet people that are entrepreneurial that are really, truly giving like a giant, like think how much we laughed yesterday, right? Like just think of all the laughter. It's rare that you see somebody who's in 8 figures a year in rev that has a laughter like that. Like have you guys ever even met somebody who's running an 8-figure business that like brings that much comedy into a situation like yesterday? Usually, you know why you don't do it? You're afraid of litigation, you're afraid of bad press, you're afraid of people misinterpreting. You just have too much to lose. Like you're not gonna see Dr. Dre producing another Straight Outta Compton or Chronic 2001 because he's got too much to lose. He's on the board of Apple. Or was on the board of Apple, right? So it's like he sold Beats headphones for like $1 billion or something. I don't know what he kept, but he's just got too much to lose. So he's not going to make another Straight Outta Compton. So it's one of these things where I want to be around. Like I specifically put myself around people who are often broke and really know how to enjoy life. Like I have buddies that I can introduce you to. They'll probably even be here tomorrow. That I could bring them up to the front. That literally like I don't want to say this to be mean, but like they're kind of broke, but they really, really enjoy life. You go to the beach with them, and you're gonna have more fun at the beach with them than you would with anybody that you've ever seen. And so I have friends like that, and I don't go and hijack the whole thing and start giving my opinions, and you should be an entrepreneur, you should make more money. I don't say that to them. Now, funny enough, I feel a weird conflict, because part of me is like, maybe I should tell him that, but I'm like, well, I wanna have a win here. I don't want this just to be someone that I'm like doing a bunch of free coaching with. If he asks me a question, I'm happy to answer, but I wanna learn from him. So he's probably kind of surprised, like, seeing me kind of like learning from him and like looking at him like a specimen almost. But I learned from him how to enjoy life more so that when I'm with my kids and we're at a park, I can crack my kids up. Like this is a real thing for me, is it's not just about how much cash you make. It's not just about how many, wild dating successes that you have. Or where you live. Or where you go. It's also the ability to tangibly enjoy those things. So cultivating your consciousness and cultivating the ability to just laugh and have fun out at dinner with your friends, that's a huge thing. And I can tell you, like, one of the guys who I think does that like as well as anybody or better than anyone is Luke. And, Luke's a guy that we all, kind of have kicked it with over the years. And like, if you guys remember Luke, and we're still great friends, and you'll see Luke just like laughing and having fun. And like, that's why I'll always be down to hang out with Luke for the rest of my life, because he's always just laughing and having fun, and I value people like that. That's important to me. But I also value, I have other friends that are very serious about their money, and they don't want to laugh, and they view it as annoying to laugh. They view laughter as, like, to them, the lens that they're seeing the world through, laughter is like this weird impediment to more money. They're like, why did you waste 90 seconds laughing? That's how they feel. I mean, get around hardcore entrepreneurs. Like look at them. It's like, why did you waste 90 seconds laughing at something? You could have made money with that 90 seconds. Like, why? Like to them, it looks like some weird peon idiot. Like the plebs. It looks like plebeians. Like just like a peasant. Like just like ho 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 hee ha ho hee ha ho hee. Ah, oh, he, oh, hey, ha, hey, ha, hey. And like the guy's like, can we get back to making money? Like, why? Why are you doing that? Let's make some money, right? Like, how is this helping us to make money? That's how they're seeing it. That is the lens through which they are seeing it. Now, their wife leaves them, their kids hate them, they're miserable, and then they die, right? They just die. And there was no point to their life, but they don't see it that way. But you want to know something? You want friends like that. And a lot of the best content I've ever taught you about how to make money, I learned from them. So the thing is that, and likewise, I have friends that literally just go to Vipassana and meditate. And I've learned, and a lot of the best content I taught you from them. And then I've got my knucklehead friends that only go out to bars and clubs, and they like drink too much and they smoke too much weed. And to me, any weed's too much and any drink is too much, but they smoke way too much even by regular standards. And they just party, and their dating life is psycho. Okay, it is beyond your imagination. A lot of these guys are not tall, not good looking. They're all flat broke. I think somebody just fell off the balcony, whatever that was. But anyway, they're all flat broke, but they short, ugly, and broke. But these guys party freaking hard. And man, their social life and their social results is off the chains. And I've learned how to like shift from going in business mode to learning what they do. And I have the ability to learn from people who I don't like, who I don't admire, who I don't respect. My mind just parses through information like a buzzsaw and is just like shooting out the bias, shooting out the lifestyle that I don't resonate with, and then just getting the gold out of it. It's like if you had a machine that could like take, a nickel and just get the nickel out and get rid of all the other metals. Actually, is a nickel all made of nickel? I don't even know. Alchemy? Okay, well, whatever it is. I'm just making this up. But the point being is like I could extract the value out of anything, but that offends, if you're around liberals and that you learn something from a Republican, the liberals are enraged because you're not in their tribe. If you're around Republicans, you learn something from a liberal, they're enraged because you're not in their tribe. So a lot of people, their learning mechanism is tribal, and their only goal of what to learn is how to be within their tribe and how to excel within their tribe. But if you say, I don't need to be in a tribe, I can think for myself, then what happens is that you get all the information from everywhere and you get higher quality information. So yeah, and I want to get you in on this too.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, bro. You answered it from a very practical standpoint. I'm gonna take it from another level. Whenever I hear people say "follow my heart," I get totally scared. I get freaked out. I'll tell you why. Because following your heart has taken like this kind of angle recently. It means I want to do what I feel, and it's usually like very spiritual. It's like if it's meant to be, it's meant to be, Or like what's another one? It'll happen when it's meant to happen.
And by the way, can I jump in for one more sec? I literally was hanging out with a guy tonight who will be here tomorrow that literally said to me, it'll happen when it's ready to happen. And I found it to be very profound and I actually liked it. And I'll get him to explain himself tomorrow. Okay. And you will see the power of the two lenses. I will have him come tomorrow, explain it, and you'll see just the different views and why so many views are.
Yeah, there's some people that can do that, and they do that, and like they're able to like really do it and take action from that place.
He's not making mills or anything, but he also it has it's called we'll say that he's quite successful in dating. We'll just leave it at that. Use your imagination, and let it run wild. And then from there, I would say that and truly let it run. You just look at it, you're just like, right? Like truly. But you'll you saw him because he was sitting right there the first night. Did you happen to know someone very attractive that my friend was sitting with the other night? Anybody? You guys? That's the guy. So wow, right? And that's like normal for him. Okay, that and like the fact that there was only one there, I was like, only one? Like I was genuinely surprised there was only one. Like legitimately, like what happened? Why is there only one? Like literally confused. So he's like, it'll happen when it happens kind of guy. But it's not like he's stacking racks, right? So. There's different points, right? But I want to hear your viewpoint of this because I totally cut it off. Yeah. I just try to show my point more, but anyway.
Okay, so we'll say there's one guy that we know that successfully does. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. If it happens, it happens. I respect that guy.
But again, it's not like he's loaded.
Okay, but it could be. We can talk about financial or we can talk about personal. Okay, just personally, let me just say this. I've seen such bias in it's meant to be. It'll happen when it happened. I'm just living my truth. I've seen such bias in that. I don't know if it has a term, but I'd call it spirituality bias. And it's people that really just don't want to take accountability or responsibility for what needs to be done. Because there's many levels to it, okay? Many different levels. I think you got to find all the things that go together for it to work. So I'll explain what I mean. I'll break it down a little bit. Even in spirituality, there's people there in spirituality that look at it from a very pragmatic level. There's people that like religion because there's organization in it. I get up at this time, I eat at this time, I pray at this time, and they like that. And there needs to be a tangible thing that they can bite into. But there's other group of people that say, just have faith. Just have faith. And having faith is what they like. It's enough. But I've also seen people use faith to go and start wars and do terrible things, right? So this idea of just following your heart or just following your faith isn't enough. It's not enough. You got to look at it and say, is my paradigm for looking at my heart flawed? And very often our paradigms for just like doing what our heart says is flawed, based on trauma we've had in the past, based on upbringing, based on information we've gotten from the media. Our hearts are flawed. So when you're making a decision just based on your heart, it's often flawed. Have you ever been with somebody romantically you're talking to, and they're like, my heart told me not to meet with you, and you're like, why? Like, I don't know. My heart told me, and it's like they can't explain it. They can't like put it into tangible terms. This person might be following their heart too much. And you got to find a balance. Each of us has a balance. And we also have to look at ourselves introspectively and say, where are the flaws in my own personal heart that I have that are judging me towards biases, towards myself and people? It's a very deep introspection. It happens throughout your whole life. Every year you're going to learn something new about yourself. Because so if you want to take, like, let's say you want to do something in your life, and you say, I want to, what is it? Was it a job, or was it a career, or people that you want to follow your heart? What was it?
It's really just making the choices to make myself better.
Okay.
Each day,
Right.
it's
Make yourself better.
not as so like concrete as that, I'd suppose.
Okay, well, you got to get, that's the problem. You got
But
to get
I
more
need to be
concrete
more
about it.
concrete,
Because here's the thing,
right?
there's a difference between happiness and joy.
Yeah.
Happiness is like, I want to do what my heart tells me to do. And that's usually what your heart tells you to do. For happiness, it's wrong. It's a short-term gratification about, eating a chocolate, hooking up with somebody, going to this fun thing, hanging on the Coachella, getting this new piece of tech that you want because your heart tells you to do it. But your heart leads you to the stray. Your heart will lead you the wrong way because it doesn't lead to joy. Many of your actions of your heart that lead to happiness are the opposite of what you should do to be joyful. Often when you pursue joy, it's not pleasurable at all. Often when you're pursuing things that would be meaningful for you in your whole life or the long-term stretch of your life, you're gonna be miserable while you're doing them. So this is why I say it's very challenging to follow your heart, because it will lead you away from what would ultimately make you happy long-term a lot of the times. So it's very deep. It's something we need to reflect on and think about long-term in our lives, and always analyze it and break down and see where we are in that process, because we all have that. We all got to work on it, 100%.
Yeah, Sam, anything I don't know?
Yeah. Oh, of course, a little
Yeah,
bit.
and then John, when we're shooting there, you could even pop it over here, go to crowd shot. So go to crowd shot now, then pop on in over here, and then to there, and then you can hit it from there. Thanks. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll give you a little bit more of a practical thing. It's like find little areas in your life that you might not know all the information, but you trust your gut feeling a little bit more. Okay. So make a decision with not all the information, so you get better at knowing and understanding how your body tells you what it's feeling. And that's what I do. So I might know something, I'm like, I don't know anything about it. Yeah. What do I feel? I'm like, okay, well, I'm feeling this, all right, I'm feeling that. And I'm like, and then I'll run through the whole process. I might learn more information, and then I'll go, okay, well, my decision was wrong. Why was it wrong? How was it wrong? Okay, and then I learn from that. And that's how I get, you're not never going to be perfect, but it's how you get a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. Can you guys give a hand for that? We'll go to the next question as well. Before we go to the next one, Ibrahim, do we have one from online? I'd like to get a great question online.
Yeah, we have Jim Pachi. They're asking, what is your advice for being less purely transactional while building your business and relationships?
Okay, that's what he said there is a really deep question. How do you become, and by the way, that mic is red at this point, so John, could you go maybe tweak that? So it's one of those things where the main way that you make money is with extreme, and pay attention, this is a very, very important distinction. It is with extreme value for time, okay? Repeat that after me, extreme value for time. Extreme value for time. And then, paradoxically, what is the main lesson of Eckhart Tolle's book? Time does not exist. Yeah. So it's this weird paradox where the lesson that people that are successful have a high value for their time, this is a lesson that will ripen for you and mature for you as you get older, okay? So for example, like even take things like dating skills. And people, they come into learning about dating and social skills, and they're saying, what's the technique to raise my value? When somebody has a high value for their time, you can feel that emanating off of them. You feel it. I noticed that as I began to value my time more, I'd meet people on the street and you'd hear them, it was kind of a funny thing, you'd hear them tangibly blurt out, I know your time is valuable, I I know your time is valuable. And this was before I even started heavily emphasizing this in my teaching. And I saw it happening. People can suddenly feel like this person has respect for themselves. This person has respect for their time, and they will pay you more. People that are more attractive are more likely to want to spend time with you or date you because they can see that you're somebody that has a high premium on time. So people are looking for, for some technique to be more attractive, and it's like, start valuing your time more. Stop being so available. But then the problem is people who don't really use their time effectively try to fake being unavailable, and that doesn't really work either. It's a kind of a hard thing to fake. It's similar to when people get, and this wouldn't be myself, but some people are just amazing at martial arts, and all of a sudden, as I get more and more amazing at martial arts, if they'd walk into a confrontational situation, people often just back up because they sense a vibe emanating off of them, like, wow. And it's the same thing if you're very, very good socially. You're somebody who, people respond to very favorably and with a lot of attraction socially. You walk into an interaction and you'll just see attraction happen, boom, because people almost feel it emanating off of you. There's these little micro expressions that just emanate off of you, like this is somebody who is attractive. And it's kind of hard to fake. Like if you've been having a lot of, social success, as an example, dating success, making a lot of great friends, people sense that off of you and then often want that from you. If you're somebody who's really, really good at, combat, people are like, oh, I shouldn't mess with them. Like, if Mike Tyson walked in a room, he could probably look at you. I don't know about these days because I haven't, met him in person, but I would probably still these. Yeah, probably. Did you ever see him?
No, it's just.
But you could just guess. Yeah, that's kind of my guess too. Yeah, because he even had like a boxing fight recently, right? Yeah, it was still pretty awesome. So it's one of these things where, if Mike Tyson looked you in the eye, you can kind of feel that you shouldn't mess with the guy without him saying anything, even if you don't know him. Well, it's the same thing with valuing your time. But then the flip side of it is that you've got to be able to shift in this kind of weird, timeless dimension where you're operating from a place of, like what Eckhart Tolle would say, there is no time, but then kind of but having, what Eckhart would say is that you have 1 foot in the physical world, 1 foot in essence. So you operate from a standpoint of like, time is everything, and then you think about how to maximize your time, but then paradoxically, you're also kind of figuring out how do you stay in this kind of timeless, present, spiritual zone?
Clock time, right?
What's that?
You call it clock time, right?
Clock time versus what?
Psychological time is what they call it.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, I like that.
Can I answer that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have some. It's a little tight there. All right. Cool. And tell me what you think about this. I'm very curious to see. This is like kind of like one of your teachings.
Yeah.
But I've taken it to like another degree in my brain.
Okay.
Throughout a little while. Because Owen often talked about like how to give value, right? You walk into somebody, you tell a story, it's giving value. Make a joke, it's giving value. You're starting a conversation pleasantly, you're giving value, okay? We know what value is, we know how to give it. That's a challenge, it's like step one. But when you're dealing with an entrepreneur or somebody who has a lot of like not free time, you have to like go to like level 3 or level 4. And I think the biggest challenge people have is they don't know how to give value to people that have value. Mm-hmm. If you get to this mindset, your life would change. First of all, it's a hard question, so we just kind of avoid it. How would I give some value to somebody who has everything? We just kind of like would avoid it. It's a hard question, so we kind of don't think about it. But it's really important. Even as I say, you guys are kind of, I'm like looking at the audience right now, and they're like, what do you mean? Like, it's like, I'm literally telling you the most important thing to like make high value friends. If you want to like have mansion parties, hang out with celebrities across the world, you want to like figure out like how to just like connect with somebody, how do you give value to somebody that has a lot of value? How do you give something to somebody that already has everything? And once you start thinking about that, you will then change your life dramatically. Because if you want to, you can't walk in and ask something from them. There's a guy here earlier, I think it was you earlier? You asked me like, hey man, I'd love to like pick your brain for stuff. And I was like, no. It's like, because you haven't even thought about what my problems are, to put yourself into my shoes and say, I want to go and solve Madison's problems with him or for him. And that's the best way to give Madison some value. Because every person that's an entrepreneur that's busy gets like 20 requests a day of like how to pick their brain. I get like DMs every day on like Instagram. Like, I want to offer you my services. I just need 20 minutes of your time for this phone call. I'm not going to give you 20 minutes of my time for a phone call. If I say yes to everybody, I'm going to have like no time at all for clients or for like you guys here. So I can't even say yes to people who want to pick my brain.
It's similar dilemmas as if I say I'm doing a party up here, and then my guy friends are like, hey, we're going to roll through with the squad, bro, like 8 dudes. And then I'm like, but like, if I say yes to you, I am saying yes to every other guy, and then you all won't like me anymore because you'll say that my parties suck. So it's like what you kind of want is that I only say yes to you, I say yes to nobody else, but there's nothing unique about what it is that you're bringing. So you got to bring something to the picnic other than an appetite. And so what happens is that like they're not doing the math on what their request is. They're not saying like, if he said yes to this request, mathematically, could he exist? You remember what I said earlier about running the free events as a math equation? So think about all the different tinkering that goes into place to be able to do this. So it's like, if I'm stopping to talk to that guy on the street for 3 hours, y'all don't get this free event. Because now I'm stopping and talking to the next guy, the next guy, the next guy, the next guy. It means that I have no boundary. So what it means is that it's like as if there was like a girl that you really like, and then everyone that came with the same whack-ass approach that you had, they went home with. Then you wouldn't want her anymore because she just went home with 1,900 dudes this week. Because you're, and then guys get bitter about it, and they're like, but you wouldn't even want me if I went home with 1,900 dudes, and you're as generic as the other 1,900 dudes between all the DMs and et cetera, and meeting people out, and yet you're mad at me for not calling you back. But if I did what you requested, you wouldn't call me anymore because I would be a cream glazed donut. I'd be a human embodiment of a cream glazed donut. And like literally like this giant cream covered human that is just cream everywhere.
I'm gonna pull the mic way down.
And you wouldn't even be able to like even talk to them. They'd be so glazed over. Okay? Like you'd be like, is there anyone under there? Like just this thing of glaze from every dude in the whole block. Okay? Just like, and this wouldn't be a human anymore. But somehow you want them to say no to everybody else that came with your generic whack garbage.
Yeah.
They say no to all them, but just only like your generic whack garbage.
The audacity.
Because of your connection, even though they're 4 points more attractive than you. And that's what they deal with, right? Yeah. And yet the dudes get mad at them for shutting them down, and they feel bitter about it, or they feel bitter about flaking, but they've never audited what it is that they're bringing. So what you do is you put yourself in the position like, okay, they have about 4,000 offers this week. How do I make, they're probably gonna accept 3 or 4 to kind of get to know a bit deeper. How do I become the 3 or 4? And it's not rocket science, but it does mean, and you know why it's not rocket science? Because everyone is so lazy that they won't take the time to do it. So you're the one person, like when you're somebody who's actually actively seeking how to add value to someone, you look at them in the eye and you kind of have this look of like, I get it. And they're like, ah. And you can make friends with them like that. You could, like that, like you immediately put them at ease. They could just feel that your brain is even operating that bandwidth, which by the way, signifies that you're somebody, the hungry don't get fed. The fact that you have, this is a main key, the fact that you have the mental bandwidth to even think beyond yourself and your own needs means you're high status.
And it means I can bring them around with friends that I'm with. Because if they're just like in that taking bandwidth, I can't even bring them around. Because even if I did invite them, they'd mess it up too.
Yeah, you guys catching this, right? So it means that you have access to other people like you. But understand, the fact that you have the mental bandwidth to think about how other people feel means that you're probably high status. They're like, oh, you're not just totally drowning. You're not drowning in reality. That means that you're probably high status. So it immediately differentiates you.
Yeah. And every relationship, I'll pass you in a second, because you're really good at this, Sam. Sam is a master at this. You can talk about it, people you know or whatever. Every relationship you have is a transaction. Like, I'm going to offend you now, okay? Your mother loves you because she's your mother, if she loves you. It's because she's your mother. If you were somebody else's kid, she wouldn't love you. And you love her because she weaned you on her breast. If she didn't wean you on her breast, you wouldn't love her the same way, right? You go to a church, if you're spiritual, the preacher gives you what? Spiritual information. There's a transaction. He's giving you something there. Spiritual people hate it when I say this. They absolutely hate it because I'm like, the church is a transaction as well. You follow rules. If you're good or you're bad, depending on what you believe, you go to hell, you go to heaven. Those are rules. It's a reward system. It's a punishment system. There's a give and take there, a transaction. I'm not saying you should believe it or not. I can see that people are like not spiritual, their eyes glazing over right now, okay? It's not the point. The point is that everything is a transaction. So when you're going to these people that you want to meet, you want to interact with, you want to connect with, you got to think, what is the value that I can give them? And you rack your brain about it. Think about it. Use all of your mental capacity and your energy to think about how can I solve a problem. I say solve a problem because that's the quickest way to do it. Quickest way to get in, solve a problem for them. One problem. Solve one problem for them. I walk the street, people approach me and they know me from online. That's cool. I appreciate that because I've given the value to their lives, but usually they ask me a question. I very rarely have somebody come to me and say, hey, how can I help you with something? The high value friends that I have, you might have this too, Sam. The high value friends that I have, or maybe you have, they call me. They're like, "Hey man, what are you working on? Cool. Let me know if I can help you. Hey man, what are you working on? Oh, cool. I know somebody who does that. Let me connect you to them. Let me hook you up with them. What are you working on? Okay, cool. Let me help you." And that's what I do. When I have days when I'm busy, I still call up my friends that are I think are great guys that are high status, I'm gonna call it, and I hit them up and I just try to solve problems for them on my lunch break. Even if I don't have the time, I attempt to. And even the attempt to solving the problem, even if I can't, it still stands out from the 99% of people who aren't even trying to solve their problems for them. I'll pass it over to you, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give us a couple of practical things too also that I've really worked at over the years. Number one is thinking about the emotional bucket within any relationship you have. So I think personally that every relationship you have an emotional bucket. So it is transactional, but through an emotional lens. And so I'll look at it and go, okay, this person and we've had a couple of conversations. They've been positive. So that's a few dollars in the bank account, or you think about a bucket, a little bit of water. Okay. But if I start to display bad characteristics, I don't call them back, I'm draining the bucket. After a while, when that bucket's drained, that friendship won't be anything. So I always think like, okay, how can I add more water, more dollars to the bank, more water to the bucket in every sort of thing? So there's a couple of ways. One of the things I do with a lot of people is I try to do something for them that I don't have to ask them for, but I can see that they have a problem that I can solve really quickly. I'll give an example. Two nights ago, I was at a party in Hollywood, and I'm chatting. I see legendary UFC fighter Chuck Liddell. Great thing. Who knows Chuck Liddell here? You guys know Chuck Liddell, UFC? Yeah, legend in the space, Hall of Famer. And one of the things was he had a shirt. We were giving out shirts for the birthday boy who it was. It was Harry Jousey, one of the big, too hot to handle. And he came to me, he's like, oh, I need a shirt for my daughter. That was my opening. I didn't even have to ask him. I'm like, okay, how can I get that for Chuck? So I go on the back. I assumed, this is what I assumed, that it was a small because his daughter was, small. So I grabbed the small, gave it to him, very thankful. After that point, he gave me 40 minutes of his time. Mm-hmm. But that wasn't enough. I then knew things about Chuck, so I asked questions in such a way that really created curiosity with him, and really he wanted to answer the questions. Because I knew a little bit. I don't know a lot, I knew a little bit. And I did that in such a way where I wasn't taking. I was just asking what were you doing in that situation? Or what did you think there? That's how I got him to talk for 40 minutes. Everyone yesterday and today was like, yo, Chuck was obsessed with you. You guys were talking for 45 minutes. And it was because of this theory that I like to think, where every relationship is this emotional bucket. So that's how you get away from transactional into thinking more, okay, it's the emotions that we feel. One of the other things is...
And I'd combine that with your vibe as well. So I don't think it's like you could just give something to someone and they immediately give them all your time. I'd say that plus the vibe is what allowed Sam to have that interaction.
Well, yeah, true, which is... You're also giving the good emotions, which is a value add.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
So yeah, it's not always giving. It's like, how can I do it in such a way that is really well received, which is the vibe.
By the way, if you guys could grab a little, I'm doing an IG Live simultaneously. If you guys could grab a camera. Do we have that little tripod for IG that we could post this on? Yeah. So guys, go over to YouTube right now, and we're broadcasting live on YouTube, guys. And if you guys could get it to where this is... Ibrahim, could you grab that little thing? Cool. Okay, let's keep rolling.
Okay. You know what, Sam? I know your content, so I'm going to add something onto your stuff. Yeah, sure. This is really good because I know Sam for a long time. Okay. So one of the things Sam does, he said he asks questions of people. I don't want you to get that misconstrued for the wrong idea. He doesn't just go and ask generic questions. He asks people questions about things that they care about that they don't get to talk about very often. So remember, for you, we were talking about Ty Lopez, for example. Yeah. You were like, oh, don't go ask him about his business. Ask him about his martial arts training that he's interested. Mm-hmm. Ask him about that new garden that he started, organic garden or something. With the Amish, he's starting a new garden thing. I don't know what it's called. I'm just giving you a generic term, but he started a new one. Go ask him about that. So if you ask these people about things that they actually genuinely care about, you're going to have a better chance of connecting with them because you're having a conversation based on what people don't usually get to talk to them about. That's very, very important. And I'll tell this story. I'll tell my Ariana Grande story because I might as well. Okay. So this one time I was in Sweden. Okay, it's 11:30 at night. We're in the back alleys of a hotel. It's dark. The restaurants are closing, And I'm with my buddies, and we're just talking about this idea of stroopwafels. It came from Amsterdam. And then I hear a voice go, "Stroopwafels? I love stroopwafels." And I'm like, what is this voice? And I saw this girl. She's kind of sitting there in not in a ponytail, but just an old sweatshirt, And At the time, she had like neck tattoos and arm tattoos, which I think she photoshops out or they airbrush out now before. And she's just talking to us about this like stuff in Amsterdam. She's like, if I can have she says this to me, if I can have anything in the world right now, the one thing I'd love to have is a stroopwafel. And we just got into this weird conversation about it for like 15, 20 minutes. And I had a bunch in the hotel room. I'm like, yo, I'll go grab some for you, you know? Went up to the hotel room, grabbed some stroopwafels, hung out. It was a lot of fun. So the point of why I'm telling this story is not because of the stroopwafels. It's because I provide an opportunity for the person to be who they don't get to be around everybody else. You know what I mean? When somebody's famous, they always have to be the famous person. They have to be that person. They have to be ready to perform. They have to be who you expect them to be. But some of the best people I've ever seen socially, like club promoters or just cool guys, they're able to allow celebrities and high value people to just be normal people in the midst of an environment, which they don't usually get to be. They don't usually get to do that, and you allow them to have that again. And that could be a great gift that you provide to them as well. And Sam, you're really good at doing that also.
I appreciate that. Thank you very
We
much.
can pull it back there a little bit. Just play with it, bro. Okay, you're good. It's paused though, so you need to reconnect it.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things, this is a topic that can be not only with attraction, but can also be done with a business, networking, as well as connecting with new friends. This is something that's like, it goes beyond just anything. This is general communication skills. I would say that if not, this is one of the most important things to learn how to be able to connect and vibe and be able to interact with someone, not on the level of like, okay, what can I get from this person? What can they give to me? But more of how can we progress this to a more connection? Because a lot of people, one of the biggest things,
Bring it over here, please. Keep rolling, bro.
yeah, one of the biggest things is that people will look at someone and say, what can I get from them? What can I, whether it's, can I get a business dealing? Can I get her to become my girlfriend? Can I get something? And the person that wants something the most doesn't get it. It's sales. The person that wants the sale doesn't get the sale. So if you can be more in your own world, but still be able to relate with them in such a way that engages them, because you understand them, you can think a little bit more in terms of what do they need, what's their reality. And majority of the times with the biggest celebrities in the world, some of the biggest in the world, I've had situations where I've thought, what is this person's life? What is a 22-year-old girl's life in Los Angeles? What is her life like? Okay? And doing some preconceived like thinking of it, because you'll find that, okay, well, I never thought that their life might be like this. Oh, I've been coming like that, but that would be really annoying for that type of person. So I've put myself and I kind of visualize the scenarios before they happen to when I'm in it, I get to have the perfect reaction. I get to do the perfect thing. I'm able to kind of relate with them better in such a way because I've already done it like 4 or 5 times before because I put myself in their reality.
Yeah, and I'd say you want to think of it as a combination between be careful that it doesn't devolve into pandering. So pandering comes across as you're trying to, it looks like a take. So it's a combination of raw social skills combined with understanding what other people would find interesting, right? So for example, if you meet somebody out and you have access to super baller parties, inviting them to a super baller party is great. But if you're somebody who lacks social skills, it's not going to get you in with them. They're just going to consume the baller party and they're not going to talk to you. So it's one of those things where you have to have those raw social skills as well, okay? There's no getting out of it. Let's go to the next question. Yep. I'm going to throw you the mic. Can you catch it? You're going to catch it. It's only worth $1,500. It's only worth $1,500. Don't worry. Okay. Good to go. Okay, let's roll.
Is this on? Or
It's
are
on.
we good? Okay.
Yeah.
So you say with socializing that field experience is king.
Yes.
But an issue with that is that a lot of people haven't done the proper internal work, so it reinforces a negative frame when they're constantly going out and they haven't done the right internal work. So how do you balance doing the right internal work and then constantly going out and socializing?
So I think that's actually an amazing question. There's going to be different. Let me give an example. Okay, so my son yesterday said the first thing that really scared me, and he was actually here and he was downstairs and he said, "Dad, I'm stressed," and there's going to be half this room that is going to basically say, him saying, "Dad, it was just stressed with me, keeping him up late, maybe throwing him on stage," right? Half the room is going to say, if he says he's stressed, you've got to honor his feelings, you got to make him feel seen. And the other half of the room is going to say, tell him to shut the F up and to get on stage, right? Out of curiosity in this room, and I'm just curious, who here feels it's more important, make him feel seen, acknowledge how he's feeling, so you don't mess him up kind of thing? And then, okay, so we'll go with that. And then who here is more just tell him to shut up and get on stage? Put your hand up for that one. So there's going to be so do you see how there's kind of different ideologies on that, right? So it's one of those things where I'm a bit on a mix. So guys like Jordan Peterson have often said the job of the parent is to simulate the environment that they're going to be going into. I have a bit of a different feeling on that. I feel that at a certain point, they are not in a mature enough headspace to process the pain of the environment. I just don't see how like going to your 7-year-old kid and putting them through like the torment of the environment is really helping them to grow or building those creative centers in the brain when they're just loaded up with cortisol. I just don't see it. I just don't see it. Okay, I don't think that I learned anything from being punished at age 7. I don't think it helped me learn discipline. I don't think it helped me learn anything. I think it kind of just messed me up and it didn't help. But I think that then they cross a certain point, and I think Dylan, my son, is there now at age 11 where he's kind of like getting a little bit like a little man. You know, it's kind of a very, the best way I could describe it to you is like if you drive to the Grand Canyon, let's say that it's kind of like green, green, green. Then it's like green with a bit of red rock, green with a bit of red rock, green with a bit of red rock. Now all of a sudden it's red rock with a bit of green, red rock with a bit of green. And suddenly you're in the Grand Canyon, all this red rock. It's kind of like a funny thing when you drive there. Dylan is at that point where it's like a baby and a stud. It's a very strange thing. You guys see these videos, like when he's on stage, right? He's like, it's like my little baby, you know, I want to cuddle him. And then it's like a young stud that, you know, doesn't need like a 40-year-old man to cuddle him. That's like kind of weird, right? So it's like, where are we at here? Like, what are we doing, Dylan? You know, so it's one of these things where, you know, I give him a hug, but, you know, I'm not going to treat him like how I would treat my 4-year-old son, you know, Tristan, who's like a full-on baby. So it's one of these things, not a full-on baby, but, you know, I mean, he's even getting there a little bit too, but there's more of the green than the red rock with Tristan. Let's just say that. So I feel like for Dylan, he's at that point where I'm going to be like, yo, dude, like, get up there. You know, like he's got to get his first, I'm not going to be mad. There'll be no pain body in it. There'll be no trauma in it. I'm going to calmly look at him and say, I understand that you're stressed. I love you. Okay, we're going to go upstairs now, okay? And he's just got to come upstairs. Like there's no more time for that anymore, okay? So I tend to be a little bit more like with a grown man like yourself. I'm going to be honest with you, like everybody's a bit different. So I want to acknowledge that there's different lenses. Remember I mentioned earlier, there's different lenses through which they see this. I just don't see how a grown man is able to cry about how they have approach anxiety. I just don't see how a grown man is able to cry about how they have like inner work to do. And by the way, I'm saying this as somebody who paid out probably $400 or $500K on getting one-on-one trauma coaching for a couple of years. So clean up your mess, clean up the total mess that your upbringing made for you. You know, I've done years of work on belief systems and things like that. It's helped me tremendously. But I'm certainly not somebody who is going to say like, oh, I don't feel good today, so I'm going to not do this right now. I do take days of proactive recovery, and there's a lot of nuance to this. I don't, you know, if I need a day off, I take a day off. But it's one of these things like looking at a grown man, you know, saying like, I can't get a girlfriend. Like a girlfriend. You know what I mean, right? Like that's like saying like I can't get a job at a parking lot. Like I can't find someone that's going to hire me to get a job as a parking attendant. Like you can't find one person who you're gonna give up your freedom. You're gonna give up your singlehood. Like that's the greatest joy that you have is your total absolute freedom. You shouldn't just give that up easily. You're gonna give up your options, your abundance, and you're like, I'm gonna give up all my options, all my abundance, all my freedom, all those legendary nights out. Like option A, go to South Beach, be out at the sickest club in Miami, wind in my hair, partying with like the most attractive people in the city, having options to meet anybody. Option number 2, sit at home with you on a Friday night and play Yahtzee. And you can't find somebody to do that with you. That's your biggest problem. Like you can't, that's like you have the publisher's clearinghouse check and you can't find somebody to take it. Like you're willing to be monogamous and you can't find somebody to accept your monogamy? Wow. And yet we often so undervalue what it is that we bring that we just wish that just one person would take it. Like if just one person would take the publisher's clearinghouse check that I have. So it's the kind of thing where, look, I'm at a point where, you know, at 43, where I'm getting texts as I'm sitting here. Like, you might have seen 2 people here that were pretty attractive. Think back, okay? Think back. And I got here late. Did you see that? I've been getting texts since 4 or 5 hours ago. And there's 2 of them, right? Yeah. And they're not exactly thrilled that I came late, right? Yeah. Imagine not even showing up for that and being like, hey, I'm not going to be, I'll be there way late. You can kick it if you want to, but I'm going to be there way late. Stop and think about that for a minute, okay? Like, think about what real abundance means. You should not just be so keen to give up your options and your freedom. I'm not even sure even if someone just like literally comes up to my house, I'm not necessarily just like, oh, I'm showing up. Like, you're going to show up, but you think just because you showed up at my house that I'm going to drop everything that I'm doing and all my freedom and options to come and see you just because you came to my house, right? So I'm saying this to shock you a little bit if you don't understand, right? Like, real abundance is where somebody says, I'll pay you, like I want to pick your brain. I'll buy you dinner for free. And you're like, I'm not even going to take the time to respond to this. They say, I'll give you $1,000 if I can spend an hour with you and pick your brain. And you say, well, what else could I do with that hour? They say, I'll give you $10,000 for a phone call. And you say no. Now, when you hear about things like this, and Alex Hormozi talks a little bit about this in his book, $100 Million Offers, he said, I used to see these people that would get like, an offer for $50K for a day of their time and say no, and I thought that was such a freak show. And now I'm on the other side of that equation, and I totally get it. And what that is that there's a sort of a weird trap where, say that someone comes up to your house to see you, but what about that baller party where there's 50 people over there? Now, if you go on my Instagram story right now, where are you going to see me out? Well, I'm out at Marcel's party, right? I'm in no rush to run back up here. No, and you're with me, right? Do I have an incentive to come up here?
No.
Okay, so yeah, he just came back from there with me.
I was on stage
Yeah,
the whole time.
yeah, he was up out here. You should have been there.
I'm the guy you're talking about.
Yeah. So it's one of these things where it's like, I have no urgent need to go, to leave my friend's party where I'm meeting some incredible people, and who even knows what's happening there, right? Marcel's a great friend of mine. He's led me room anytime he wants. So why am I going to run up here? So it's one of these things where, I can pull out my phone right now and I can show you like, hey, let's meet up tonight. And, I flake, and I can show you many examples of that. And so it's one of these things where what Alex Hormozi is saying is, he actually gives an example. There's a great reel that he posts about this where he says, it's like the movie The Matrix, like, don't look at the girl with the red dress. Right? And he's like, oh, you got caught looking at the girl with the red dress. You remember that in the movie The Matrix? And what Alex Hormozi says is that as you get more and more successful, you're going to have better and better version of the girl in the red dress that are distracting you. And you're not even thinking about what it is that you're giving up as far as your options because you have such low value on yourself. Every single minute that you're spending, for example, meeting someone up at your house, you could have been spending that metaphorically sharpening the sword of your social skills out. Every minute that you spend in a relationship, you're metaphorically could have been sharpening the sword of like getting the level of skill set that you wanted. Now, that said, likewise, every minute that you spend just out sharpening the sword, you could have been building out container events. You could have been working on social media. You could have been looking at the stories that you're doing. You could have been looking at the world that you're pulling people into, inviting people into, or the world that you're building. So you have your early phases, the lead generation. Then you have lead conversion, you have lead retention, and you could have been converting that whole entire funnel. In my case, I could have, I'm about to do a 5-week trip to Alaska with my kids. I'm going to be going to Seattle and Portland after that to do some free events up there, and Chicago and Hawaii, and New York, Boston, Philly, DC, and a whole bunch of them coming up. Dallas, Houston, Austin, Phoenix, Vegas. Julian's going to be all over Europe, right? So we're doing free events, but it's like, do I want to go do a free event? Do I want to go to Alaska with that time? Now, do I want to be at home building out the business more? Now, remember, like, I literally just yesterday dropped a one-on-one client. Now, you know that one-on-one clients are typically going to pay you premium rates. And literally, I'm like, I don't want to keep working. Like, I'm thinking to myself, I can't believe I'm dropping a one-on-one client when, they're being so generous to me, but I'm going to drop a one-on-one client. But how am I going to go to Alaska for 5 weeks? Why do I want to be in Alaska with a satellite phone, calling somebody on the phone? What are those moments with your children worth? You see what I'm saying, right? Now, when we go back to Seattle, I want to drive home down the Pacific Coast Highway. You guys ever been on the Pacific Coast Highway? You ever been up to Big Sur? Yeah. That's incredible. You look at this room of all these people that live in LA, and most of you have probably never even been up past Malibu. Did you guys know that within 3-4 hours of here is Big Sur's about 5 hours away, but it starts getting beautiful even sooner? The beauty that you could see on your way up there, and you haven't even been to see it. It's a world-class drive. You guys have, I bring this up, you have Sequoia National Park 3 hours from here. You have Yosemite National Park about 5.5 hours from here, just north of Fresno. You have, Mammoth Mountain, Tahoe. You guys realize that for $1,000, you could get an Icon Pass, and you could still be skiing in Mammoth and Tahoe right now because we had the biggest snowpack this year because we had this crazy downpour of rain. There's going to be snowing until July in Mammoth and potentially even in Tahoe this year, and you could have been doing that. So you've got to be, like, when you're talking to somebody, you shouldn't be like, I hope they like me. Oh, I really hope that I can't go skiing in Tahoe. I really hope that I can't go with my family. I really hope that I'm not going to be in Miami South Beach, having my total absolute freedom. I'm just lonely. I'm just lonely. Oh, I really hope that my high-paying one-on-one client doesn't drop me because I want to do satellite phone calls from Alaska. You see what I'm doing, right? But then again, you can make a counter argument why you got to be running around with a bunch of bears when you got somebody pay you a great fee, to talk on the phone, right? So it depends on how you look at your life, right? But that's the point, is that life is decisions. What I would say is that if you're in a place right now in your life that you're not having that degree of abundance, you got to start taking action. You've got to have that thing in you that initiates you beginning to take action. Start cultivating your personality, ability to make money, spiritual truth, physical body, options, friendship, and life is like this big playground that you can go and play with. Learn from the best. You guys are here amongst some of the best teachers in the world. We've had a bunch of great guests here this week, and I'm here teaching till way late at night. You guys are here. You guys are in the right place. Keep learning and keep going deeper. There's really an incredible world out there. But remember to value yourself. Put your time at the highest level of value. And what happens is that when you have that kind of thought process, when you look somebody in the eye, you give them your full energy, and you're just like any of you in here, if you saw me at the bathroom or saw me on the balcony, I'm going to be absolutely present with you. I'm going to give you 100% of my focus, but you can probably feel it. I don't just get to sit here with this guy indefinitely. I've got to think through what I'm saying. And if I'm not going to be a part of his frame, he's probably going to wander off. So what happens is that other people start to be a part of your frame and start to feed your vision if they want to be a part of it. And then what winds up happening is now your vision becomes manifest, and life just gets better and better and better and better and better, right? Because now, this is the problem. You ever had say a significant other who just argues with your vision the whole time, and you're like, baby, I love you so much. I don't want to lose you out of my life, but you're not aligned to my vision for this. And as a result, you're burning down hours bickering. And all those hours you're spending bickering, you're not making your vision. And then eventually, it looks like your vision sucks because you never get across the hump. I've had it where I've had breakups where right after a breakup, our company revenue doubles. Well, why is that? Because I'm not spending that time bickering, right? It's like option A, bicker with you. Option B, double revenue. It doesn't mean that happens automatically, but when you reclaim that time, it probably will. So these are big questions that you have to ask, okay? Let's do maybe we'll catch one more great question here. What do you guys have? And I'll pass it over to Madison. Yeah, and we'll keep it rolling. Give one for Madison. I'm ranting.
Make it good. Make it good. No pressure.
He's a mic.
Best question you've ever had.
Okay, yeah, just walk it over. Let's walk it over. Okay, thank you, bro.
How much was this again?
Let's not worry about it. I don't want to freak you out. Okay.
Enough.
Pass it over. John, you can stand over here, please. Or wherever. Okay, thank you, bro. Okay.
I have a question about.
Speak up.
I have a question about the whole truth about Thoth and the Atlantean. And the emerald tablets.
Sure, go ahead. I can actually answer that. Go ahead.
You know about that?
Sure.
Is that something that's affecting us today? Is there different forces that go way beyond even before what we knew about Jesus?
Well, hey, you gotta give him props for making an interesting question. So what I would tell you is two things. The Kabbalion is one of the most powerful books ever written. You look at all these idiots sitting around looking at garbage, never read the Kabbalion. That said, I will promise you that the last thing you need to be reading, and I know this just by talking to you for 2 seconds now, is the Kabbalion. You do not need to read that. For you, the Kabbalion might as well be Pornhub. I'm serious. It might as well be porn. You'd get more value looking at Pornhub than the Kabbalion at this point. Because it is okay, I'm going to ask you some honest questions, and maybe I'm wrong. I'm a great cold reader, but I am wrong sometimes. Okay, so maybe I'm going to be wrong. I'm going to ask a personal question. What's your annual income?
Well, it's 0 right now.
Yeah. You see that, guys? How did I know? I can tell, I can look in somebody, look at that. Did I nail it or did I nail it? I mean, there couldn't have been a better answer than that, right? So, hey, it's better than a rough year as an entrepreneur when you lost $1 million, but okay. So from that standpoint, knowing that it's zero, right? Kybalion for you is like Pornhub. It's just another way for you to burn down your time and not, it's like just pondering these huge universal questions of reality, right? It's like back in the day, I used to oftentimes clown people who believe in conspiracy theories, right? And then later, when I would talk about, a lot of my various different opinions of things, people would say, hey, haven't you been clowning those things for years and years? I'm like, wait a minute. What I was doing was rather mocking the phenomenon of people who are flat broke, but they want to learn about like the Illuminati. And they think the Illuminati is what's blocking them, from making their first $20,000 a year. Like the Illuminati stopped you from making $20,000 a year, right? It's like these guys who think that their looks are blocking them from finding one person who likes them, and they think their looks are blocking them from one person out of like billions that could ever be into them. It's the same thing with like the Illuminati focus. It's the same thing with, like when you make your first $1 million. We'll talk about the Illuminati, okay? Let's go make you your first 30K a year, and then let's make you your first 30K a year, and let's get you back to the next free tour, and let's have a really deep conversation about the Kybalion. Let's go deep on it. But that should be a reward, right? Now, some people that are into that would be like, but with the power of the Kybalion, like he'll make his first 30 grand. And you know what? Who knows, right? You never know. Maybe the power of the Kybalion is what he's missing. But more likely, it's a way to distract yourself, and it's a common thing. You know what's weird? I'm not even a big believer in horoscopes, for example, right? But weirdly, and I don't know if it's just my imagination, it feels a lot of time like Libras kind of all do have the same personality, which freaks me out because I'm like, I know that I don't believe in horoscopes, but like it is kind of weird that like most Libras have the same personality. So it's freaking me out. But it's maybe some weird cold reading phenomenon. I got to ponder that. But a lot of people who are Libras, are you by any chance Libra, by the way, or no? Okay. A Cancer. Okay, well, I don't know what that is, but for a lot of people that are Libra, what happens is like they get so focused on like, it's like they need a village to take action. It's like, I need my massage therapist, my chiropractor, my herbs, my morning meditation, my sun, and da-da-da, right? Then you look at a guy like Alex Hormozy, who's like, I eat at Denny's, I work in like a white fluorescently lit room, I don't have a morning routine, I wake up and I work. And you realize that while Hormozy is not somebody who I want to emulate every component of his life, that's his life, not my life. There's many things that I would like think are like hilarious about his life that I wouldn't remotely want, and I'm sure he'd very much feel the same way about my life. But the point is that like the guy has results, and like a guy like you needs to just watch Alex Hormozy all day. Don't even watch me, bro. Like even me is like not a good fit for you. Like watch Hormozy. Like find someone who's like. It's like, what's secret happiness? And they just say the word money. Okay, just find somebody like that, watch them for a year, then come back to me, then we'll talk about the Kybalion, okay? Deal?
Yeah.
Okay, give me a hand for that, guys. We made a deal. Okay. All right. Please keep watching my videos. Just kidding. Okay, who's up? Okay, let's go. Good stuff. John, you might even cross sides. Up to you.
My question is, what are your top 3 principles to live by?
Top 3?
Yes, if you can sum it up.
You guys want to go first, or you want me to?
I'll go first. Okay. I'll go first. I've been playing around with wisdom. Wisdom is like not cool. It's not very smart. But I just look like Okay, let me say it this way. I don't try to read any new books. I don't read new books. I don't read, son. No, I just don't read. I only read old books that I have, because when I look at all the books that I have, I probably haven't implemented what I thought I could implement from that book. There's amazing books that I have that I picked up and I maybe implemented half of it. But imagine you implemented 100% of every book that you read. What would your life look like? You wouldn't need to go buy How to Not Give a Fuck by Mark Morrison. You wouldn't need to go see like The Power of Why. You wouldn't need that. You would just like to implement what has been good, what's classic, and what you've always had. So I try to work on like wisdom. I'm not trying to learn anything new in my life right now. I'm just trying to like do lessons that I've had before and learn them properly. Imagine you learn every lesson you had in your life properly. Like, don't mess with this kind of girl. Don't go to that kind of place. Don't drink before you go to sleep. Don't have sugar too early. Like just simple stuff in life, or even like lessons of life, different personality types. If you just implemented those, or if I did, my life would be completely different than where it is now. And so
He shifted from information gathering to execution phase.
and that's been very, very big for me.
That
And
said, though, most of y'all will mess that up because you'll be like, I'm going to stop gathering information, and then you just go into what's called nothing phase. Most people that we see fail in that phase. For most people, it actually is good to keep doing courses, to keep learning, because they'll say, oh, I'm in an execution phase, and then they're just, it's really called a complacency phase. But it is okay to have periods where you do focus less on gathering information and more on implementing it. But very rare is the person who's actually able to do that. And it's like people who are like, I'm just gonna go fully natural now, bro, fully natural. And then like they just wind up sitting there getting drunk at a table. That's the most common, like you'll see so many ex-guys that were so good at social skills and meeting new people, they just get wasted at tables now. They get like a cocaine habit. It's pathetic. And you see this all the time. So it's one of these things where an execution phase is good, but I would encourage you to be very wary of the extent of shutting off the inflow of new information.
yeah, it's very nuanced. It's not for everybody to do. It's like if you're there at that point, then you'll know you're there.
Mike's not-
But it's dangling down. If you're there at the point in your life, you'll know you'll be there. But if you're like questioning, like, is that me? It's probably not you. You're probably not ready for that yet.
So would you transition between execution and gathering? Like, would you take a period of gathering and then
when
take a period of
I
execution?
look at you, like Madison, I believe is at a point where he can focus more on execution. I don't look at you and say, I don't feel like it's screaming like, this guy is at information saturation point and he needs to look at nothing else and just execute. Like, I don't feel that. I feel that you being at an event like this is probably the best place that you could be right now. Like, I don't see a reality where you having not been here this weekend, like you would have used that to like hike Runyon Canyon more or so, like I just don't see that. I think for 99% of people, getting to events like this or reading books are things that are great and they should execute. It's not either or, it's both. But that sometimes you do hit a point where you're like, I know exactly what I need to do. I'll pick up another book in 90 days. And I think that's what he's trying to put forward to you. Yeah, but that's not most people, but you'll hit points like that as you progress. Yeah, for most people, it's just pure ego. Like, I don't need to learn anymore. It's just total ego. It's not going to help them. Yeah. Let's keep rolling. Okay. What's that? Okay, my 3 top principles. I guess the answer, I don't really know if I could put that into 3 main principles, but what I would say is that I read the Sermon on the Mount very regularly. I read the Tao Te Ching regularly, and I recommend that you guys look at classic books that discuss the underlying fabric of greater reality. Everybody except you, okay? So in other words, when you're looking at really, really profound books, what winds up happening is it's a really funny thing to be sitting there like thinking about some kind of dumb crap and then pick up the Tao Te Ching and realize I'm an idiot. Or you're thinking about a bunch of petty, low-level thoughts. You read up, load up, say, a YouTube video of the Sermon on the Mount as an example, right? Or I read the Gospels regularly, and you read the Sermon on the Mount, and you realize like the last month was a lie. The last month was literally me in a dream trance, and I'm awake from the dream trance, and like I really wish I would have just like pick this up again like 10 days ago. And you're like, oh, and that's why you do have to delve into those things again and again and again. It's unfortunate with the Bible that there's a lot of what I would like to call kind of like Christian NPCs. A Christian NPC to me is similar to far leftist NPCs where, you can meet people where, for example, if you would say, if you would like say that you like don't like Donald Trump, but you just want to do a funny prank and you're like, oh, I like Donald Trump, and you did that as a prank. Watch as like some of them you can literally see their consciousness recede. Like you can see their active consciousness recede. And have you ever seen the movie Kingsman with like that British Secret Service where like someone presses a button, they all start murdering each other? And like I've literally seen it where like I've done this as a prank just privately. Like I'm not looking to make a political channel. I'm not looking to like, delve into this, but just for my own curiosity about what was happening in society, I would play pranks like that and just say that. And like you'd literally see like the murder, death, kill button go on, and you know that I evaluate people with a lot of sharpness because I do it for a living, and so you'd literally see the person like I've even seen it where literally they're like, I want to kill you, I want to kill you, and you're like, wow, like this is a cult programming that's been put in their head. This isn't them. Like their conscious, you actively saw their consciousness recede, and you saw this other thing that got programmed put in, right? We had our buddy who I think is not here today, but you remember I was yelling at him. I was like, "You're in a cult! You're in a cult! You're in a cult!" I was saying that to him because literally the programming was response. There was things that he was saying that wasn't him. It was pre-programmed. You'll see this where the very message of the Sermon on the Mount, the very message in the Gospels, is to reject the establishment. It is that in order to transcend, you have to actually be a good person. You can't do what's called, virtue signaling would be what we call it today, or what you might call performative spirituality. You can't be like, "Oh, look at me, I gave to the poor, I go to heaven now, woo." It's not like that. It's who you actually are. That's the main message of the Sermon on the Mount, is it's who you actually are, right? So when you see this though with a lot of Christians, you're gonna see it where like, you see that they're just sitting there programmed, and they'll say, "Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior," and it's like, and you look at their lives, and their lives don't necessarily match up with the message, okay? And you can, and one of the major ideas in Christianity is this idea of like, Jesus says, "I am the vine," and the idea of being attached to the vine, and that what you create when you're not attached to the vine will probably go to garbage. And what you'll learn from that is that when you're acting not from like a clean space, it often creates almost like what you'd call in Eastern philosophy, this kind of like karmic debt. Like you're making like these weird little karma pockets that blow up and explode in your face. And as a 43-year-old talking right now, I can tell you that, whenever I've not, kind of operated from like, I guess you might say like the right inner space, it just creates these weird little explosions that happen later that make it where like, that month that you were coming from the wrong space, what you created in that time just made a bunch of, like, it produced some things that are good, but it made all these little ticking time bombs that then proceed to blow up for the next 2 years. Now, again, a guy like yourself, that becomes an excuse. You're like, wait, but I don't want to watch Alex Hormozy now because I might make all these ticking time bombs. So I'm just going to go read the Kabbalion for another 2 years and have no money. So it's a weird thing where it's like, step one, just go get some money, okay? Even if you make like a karmic time bomb, wow, like whatever, bro. Go make your 30K and ideally a lot more than that, okay? So it's one of these things where it's more that as you progress, you've hit a point where you're financially stable, you're taking a lot of action, and then you get a little bit older and you start seeing where these things that you did that you thought were helping you was really spitting your tires in the mud and just making you messy. And it's one of these things where you go back to like foundational principle-based textbooks like Tao Te Ching, Gospels, there's, even something contemporary like Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And there's really countless books like this that really just discuss the underlying fabric of reality. And what that does is it's empowering you with the right foundation so that all this action that you're taking isn't in vain. And it's very, very, very important. And by the way, most people won't go near the Gospels because what you see is a lot of Christian NPCs. You're seeing Christian NPCs and you're like, I'm not reading that. Yeah. Like, I'm not reading that. And then I talk to people like that, and they're like, "Is Jesus Christ your Lord and Savior?" And I'm like, "It's not yours." And they're like, "No, like just say it now, say the words, right?" And I'm like, what this is doing is like you with the Kabbalion, where like it like. What a great conversation it would be to break down the Kabbalion right now. What an incredible conversation it would be. Maybe we'll do it at some point tonight, maybe tomorrow. What a great conversation. So much conversation to be had there. But all that is to you is a way to not go make 30K. In the same way, people are like, "Say Jesus Christ, your Lord and Savior." It's like, what a great conversation to have. But all that is to you is a way to be broke. Yeah. All that is to you is a way not to live the message. All that is to you is a way not to be connected. It's just a way that you can make yourself feel better than other people, shame other people, and what you're doing is you're causing other people to never want to pick up and learn. They're never going to want to pick up and learn because you're not cool. You're not cool at all. You're not someone people want to be. You're not someone that other people look up to. So how are you going to spread anything? See, I look at my kid. I look at Dylan, for example, right? I've never punished him. I've never yelled at him. And when he's acting crazy, and Dylan is somebody who really, really thinks for himself. Really, I mean, imagine how I've tried to help him with that. So if I look at Dylan, literally, I just go like this. I look, if he's getting crazy, I go, "Hey, Dylan." Done. That's it. I don't even go this, because then he'll think I'm playing, right? If I go like this, he's like, "Ha, ha, ha, ha," and he'll keep doing it, right? He thinks I'm messing around. And I go, "Hey, Dylan." That's it, just something simple like that, just Like that, right? Go on John's camera, please. Put it in my face, okay? I'm just trying to show you guys how to be creative. Put it like right in my face so I'm doing a subtle movement. Okay, so it's like, hey, Dylan. Done. That's all that it takes. Why is that? Why do kids have to look at Superman or Batman to have a role model to look up to? Because their father isn't being that role model, right? I go to Dylan 4 or 5 days a week. Rate my parenthood out of 10. Most people would hate that. I go rate out of 10. Anything less than 10, I go, what do you need? What do you want? What do you need? How can I support you? So I'm somebody who he's seeing me doing things that he admires. You say, who do you want to be when he grows up? Now, he'll feel differently when he's a teenager, right? Part of growing up and individuating is you do kind of reject the views of your parents. Dylan's gonna have a rebellion phase where he's like, my dad's a dick, like, yeah, he was just like taking me on like ski trips all the time and like taking me out of school and it sucked. And that's important for him to have that phase. He has to have that phase, right? I want him to have that phase. But at the same time, as he's getting older, if you're looking at your father and you say that you say to your kid, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? It's like, I want to be like my father. Like, I want to emulate that. Did you want to be like your father? How many of us want to be like our fathers, right? So in the same way, if you want somebody to look at like, the fabric of underlying reality, you've got to be somebody who, at least a certain group of people or somebody out there would maybe look at you and say, I'd like results like that, or I'd like to be like that, or I'd like to show up, maybe not even results, but I'd like to show up like that as a human being. That's a lot more important than judging people, demanding that they submit and demanding that they look like a mindless drone. So if you look at, say, the modern church system right now, and you look at, say, like, the conservative right, it's always like on a janky, not always, I'm way generous, but it's often on like a janky website, with some dude from the Midwest that looks way too kind of stuck up, and then they wonder why they're losing, why they're losing so much of the population, why nobody even wants to look at this. So that's where it gets funny, where you open up the Gospels and you look at it and you're like, this is more relevant to 2020 than anything I've ever read. You look at things like Revelation and things like the Mark of the Beast, and you're like, no, this what? You're like, the Mark of the Beast is predicted. And again, like, people are like, are you really gonna say that? Like, go look up, like, I'm not making this up, guys. Go look up the Mark of the Beast. Like, go find this, and you will lose your mind. Look at books like Exodus that talk about that there has to be a migration out of the sick system. Look at things like Noah's Ark and the metaphor that they have, for that today, and certain things that happen after 2020 and where that becomes relevant. There is so much incredible relevance that you can find in a lot of these texts that have passed the test of time. But again, like you saying, what do you think of the Kabbalion? That's a distraction from the larger question of you making 30K. For a lot of people, it's like they'll get stuck in a conversation like, is Noah's Ark real? Like, you believe that? And then that becomes a distraction from living the message. But then as soon as you say that, they go, but then you don't really believe because you're just saying that you're one of these, like, I'm kind of spiritual people, right? And it's like, I'll talk to you about, you show up different and I'll have a conversation with you. But until you do, I'm not even talking to you, just like I'm not gonna sit here and talk to you about the Kabbalion and not serve you by making you think that you're gonna make your first 30K because you mastered the pendulum.
You know what? Can I add to that?
Yeah.
When I look at you, bro, like, honestly, like, just gonna be honest with you here. You ever read, you probably read it. Anybody ever read Levels of Energy from Frederick Dobson? Yeah? Okay. What level of energy do you think you're at?
Maybe like a 6.
A 6 out of what? It goes to like 700, 800.
Oh.
Okay?
Probably like that 300.
Okay. Well, all right. I would love for you to at least be in anger. I would love for you to at least be angry when you speak, because actually you might feel like you're in an evolved state, in a higher state, like you're
Rejected a lot of anger from my dad.
Right, but you're still kind of in apathy. I still see apathy on you.
Yeah, you're spaced out.
Yeah, you're spaced. It's apathy, and if you were to get at least angry, it'd be a step forward because then you would take action. Now, I also want to say this to you. I never said this to you before. This is kind of like off the cuff. A lot of people in here, when Owen said like the gospel, how many of you had a negative reaction to it? Just kind of like raise your hand, like internally.
Okay, tell us.
Yeah, it's okay. So the negative reaction, right? I understand it. I don't know what you've been through, but I can understand it. is because most people who like talk about religion or spirituality were in an anger state themselves when they were talking about it. They were in that Frederick Dobson level of energy, anger or resentment. That's when they learned it. That's when they had it. That's when they taught it. So your perception of it is from there. You got to separate the religion from the spirituality, from the Christ, or the Muhammad, from the Quran, you got to separate them, because
also religion becomes this way to shame people, and even for parents to beat up their kids, to make them feel like crap, to make them feel like if they smoke a joint, they're going to go to hell. All sorts of garbage that and then they go so extreme with it that they create this like snapback effect. It's like even though a lot of the advice is accurate, it creates this huge snapback effect. It doesn't allow people for evolution or growth.
Right, and it's the same thing he was saying with like the left and the left and the white, the left and the right in America. I'm Canadian, so I don't know it that well. But what I can observe, it's like extreme right. It's like I won't even get to that stuff. And extreme left is like what's happening with the kids and sex changes in school, and I'm not even going to get into that. But it's like they've polarized the message and they've lost the essence of it. So religion could do the same thing. They can polarize the message and lose the essence of it. They can even do it about social skills. They can polarize the message of what learning social skills does for your confidence and your ability to meet people, and make it into a negative thing in the media.
Yeah, look what they did to us.
I wasn't going to go there, but he said himself, right? So you have to always divorce sometimes the messenger from what the message actually is, and look at the two and put a space in between the two. Because really, we start looking at things in the perception of like love or growth or giving or community or making the world better, then you see it all kind of was connected, and it all makes sense, And I think that's kind of the point that you were making.
Yeah. 100%. And it's also tricky as teachers, because you're making these videos, you're doing these seminars, and you can give different advice to everybody, and it's hard to get the perfect piece of advice for every single person. This is why doing a live training where you get personalized feedback is better, because you're getting a lot of generalized advice. But, like I could imagine myself making a video like, read the Kabbalion, the wisdom of the ages in here, stop everything you're doing and read. And I can say that, and you're like, okay, man. But the advice that I would give to you is like, go to McDonald's, get your resume out, and get a job. Like, that's literally what I would say to you. Like, I would literally view you getting a job at McDonald's as a huge upgrade to where you're currently at. I am dead serious. Like, I will see you with the little white hat on, and like I don't need you to like escape the matrix, bro, and start a business, bro. Like, go get a job, my man, okay? Go make it where you have a couple bucks so that you actually are like, have the base level responsibility of like, wake up, get to work, add value, and go home. Get in a rhythm like that, and then keep adding to it. Otherwise, this becomes this tremendous distraction against what it is that you need to be doing. But let's go into like maybe 2 more questions. For people that are online, you could maybe hit us with like a great question. If you're online, let us know if you have a great question. I'll let Ibrahim select it, but give us something really good that we can bite into, and then I'll do maybe 1 or 2 more questions with you guys that are here and that are present. Who has the mic right now, by the way, in the crowd? Cool. Okay. Who's up? Put your hand up. Okay, let's get it to Jade. Go over to Jade. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Maybe go to the side, John, and then good to go. Okay. Don't worry about the giant camera right in your face. Act like it's not there. Go.
You got it. Well, thank you so much for this weekend and all the work that you do. I've been following your work for some time now. In a recent video, you talked about how you start to have a better level of problems. You start to have, abundance overload. And my question is, how do you manage that? How do you sift who to spend time with amongst plenty of high
Would you be able
people?
to share a little bit of your story of like maybe some of the pain that you had in the past, and then how that's evolved? Like, not even from like a bragging standpoint, but just from like a, some cool success that you've had as far as making some progress. Could you share that a little bit? Maybe even look into the camera, if that's super weird. Don't worry about the thousands of people that will see you and judge you. Act natural. Go.
I came across Transformation Mastery Academy, and I saw the Breakup Manifesto as a bonus. And I thought, hope I never need that. Kept scrolling, and then 2 months later, found myself crying in a basement in Washington, D.C., not eating, not sleeping, watching the Breakup Manifesto, and that was my introduction. And when I watched that video, I had a weird sense that I was like, am I going to be in that mansion one day? Is that going to be a thing? So after the first split, I didn't eat or sleep for 5 weeks. And then I took everything in that to heart, and I built up this amazing life that I have for myself where I love what I'm doing. I love where I live. I love the people that I interact with. And my social life has actually exploded to the point where I have to spend people to a specific event at a time and a place because there's not enough time for one-on-one interactions with everyone that I want to spend one-to-one interactions with. But now I'm dealing with...
And to clarify, because you know some people will take that in a very wild way, it's that you actually just want to genuinely socialize. Because people can take that in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, no, I mean, I send people to trivia on Thursdays from 7 to 9 in San Diego, and that's like our thing. And what's interesting about my story or my path too is that I resonate deeply with the aspect that Owen talks about where he's completely against alcohol, completely against weed, and always talks about how, as fun as his life is, the stuff that's super important to him is the time with his kids and being in nature. And I'm a 27-year-old female, almost 28, that wants to balance living in abundance with options of partners, and also knowing that I do ultimately want a family. And so it's like this is why I'm here with this question, because if anyone's going to answer it, it's going to be Owen. Where am I supposed to just live in abundance and ignore the problem and it's just going to solve itself? Or is there a way to actually pick and choose, or are there qualities I should be looking for with the people that I choose to spend my limited time with?
Okay, so give her a hand, guys. Thank you very much. I would say a couple things. So my first advice for Jade is that if I'm looking for somebody serious, and by the way, I don't think that women always have to be looking for somebody serious, but I'm just saying that if you are and you want to have a family, the big one that I always give advice is that they did a study where, and you can have a seat if you want to, by the way, you can do whatever you want. Okay, so they did a study, and I think it was something like this, but I'll get the exact data and I'll bring it back sometime. But I think what they did was they had a bunch of doctors apply to get jobs at hospitals. And then what they did was they contrasted that against actors, who all that the actors did was just learn how to kind of reenact the qualities of a good doctor. And apparently most of the actors got hired and the real doctors didn't get hired. So what it is that where there's a lot of traps is that if somebody is I call it front end optimized. If they're front end optimized, it's like if they're that smooth, they did this before. They've done this before, okay? And so even for myself, with having had a lot of social experience, I find that if I meet someone that I think is like really unique and I see a future, I wind up being at about 50% of how great I am when I don't care. And so it's often the people who I could see a future with that rather than being at my best, I'm at my worst because I'm going in my mind and I'm imagining all the cool things and imagining how great it could be rather than just having fun and not caring. So, but the thing is, what's more attractive? The guy who's like kind of in his head, like overthinking the interaction, or the guy that's having fun and not caring? So you've got to realize though that when a guy is in his head having fun and not caring, it's because he's having fun and not caring. It's not because he's the man. And so at least not the man for you potentially. So I would be actively looking for people that get a little bit more awkward, because that's actually a good sign that they're thinking about a little bit more. And then I'm just going to say what I would do in your shoes. I would just invite people out to parties. And I would just invite all of them. And I'd be like, look, I'm going to this party. You're welcome to come. And I'd invite 50 more people. How do I know? Because I do that here all the time. Okay? I invite everybody up. You are not getting one-on-one time with me if I just met you at a bar club. You're going to come into a container event, and then I'm going to talk to you for like 5 minutes. I'm going to see what I think. And then what I'm going to do is maybe I'm going to go to a group of 5 or 10, and I'm going to see what I think, and then maybe you're going to get one-on-one time. And then even if you get one-on-one time and things go like really wild, that still doesn't mean that we're going to keep hanging out, because I have to decide, and it's a funnel of decision-making process. So from that standpoint, and I'm fully upfront about that. So it's one of these things where I don't want to give away all my time. I want to put people into big groups. If they want to be part of it, cool. If they don't want to, cool. But guess what? I'm bringing value to, because the party's going to be fun. So I'm not bringing them there expecting it to be all about me. You're gonna meet Madison. You're gonna meet Sam. You're gonna meet my other friends. You're gonna meet all sorts of people. You're gonna meet other girls. You're gonna meet everybody. So I'm bringing value too. I'm being reasonable about it, and but I'm not just giving anybody all my time right off the jump. There's no way. It's not physically possible. So you want to be kind of like creating your reality, your rules, and doing something that makes sense for what it is that you're trying to do. And then what I've done in the past is, like, I remember like the last time I got a girlfriend, I was like, I'd like to get in a relationship. So I started doing, I guess it was maybe, anywhere from 5 to even 15, 20 dates a week. But it was only, like, literally, I wouldn't even make any effort to, like, really even be very charismatic. Like, I would literally be, like, just working up here. And I'd be like, hey, just come up and say hi. And then different people come up and say hi. And I just be literally working like, yeah, cool. Tell me about this. Tell me about that. Just kind of like get a little sense, but keeping my day moving. And then what I would do is, now this is very different from like how we would teach a lot of say attraction content where there's like, the desired outcome is for it to go somewhere. But this was me more in a screening type ad space. And and a lot of guys will be like, well, if you're screening like that, I bet you like everyone was super into you. No. I wasn't being charismatic. I was literally being myself to the fullest degree. And in no way, shape, or form was I trying to like make it go anywhere. My main goal was to meet a couple hundred people and have some interactions with them, but to do it over like 2 or 3 months. And then having done that, I probably narrowed it down to maybe 20. Then I narrowed it down to like 5. And then I wound up, dating my ex for a couple of years, who you guys know, you've seen her like kind of in her, sometimes like in her underwear on YouTube, right? And so we had our experience together. And then from there, that was kind of like the end of this like huge, me at clubs, me at parties, me doing parties. And it's like this giant thing of wheatgrass where it's like it goes in the funnel and it goes boop, and like this like little thing that comes out of the bottom. And so, I used to joke around there a lot about that. And I don't know if that ever really resonated or if she ever truly understood that, what I'd gone through. She's just like, of course, right? I'm the best, but the thing is like, it was a lot of work and it was tens of thousands of dollars in parties. It was a lot of nights out meeting a ton of people. And so like, it was work, it was literally like hundreds of hours of my time out meeting people, all people who I no longer have contact with. So that maybe I sharpened the sword as far as my social skill set, but that's all that I really have to show for it. But it was a lot of hours out, a lot of parties, a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of energy, because I was serious about having a relationship. So that's kind of like, out of the bottom. And to meet quality people, it takes a lot of time. What you guys don't realize is that even in business, like you wind up taking mastermind groups that are often 25K, 100K, or even upwards of $1 million. And why do you think that you're paying $1 million for like a simple mastermind? You don't want to be at a mastermind that isn't expensive because you don't want people there that are not screened. You're paying for this iron cage to hold people away from you, in the same way that you might go to the airport and there's this thing called the Virgin Lounge. The Virgin Lounge is the exact same as the regular lounge. It just costs $500. What does the $500 get you? It gets you some Cheerios, it gets you a grapefruit, and it gets you away from all the people who wouldn't spend $500. And that last one's the most important, right? And it's the same thing with a networking group, for example, where it's like, okay, I don't want to be around people who are not taking it serious. I want to be around people who have a little bit of a barrier, right? Why do people wear a Rolex watch as an example, right? It's just a simple way to say like, okay, I got 20 G's to get a watch. What you're doing is you're literally just screening as a quick and simple, easy way. I don't need that because I've done networking and all that stuff for decades, so I don't need anything like that at all. You guys could watch me like dressed like in a garbage bag and I can crush it. But the point is that for a regular person that, who didn't know all these social skills, that would be a common way to just quickly differentiate yourself. It's like these kind of mandatory minimums that you create, right? So like, if you said to me, Owen, do you want to join a mastermind right now? I'd be like, okay, what are the different prices? They're like $3K. I'm like, no, that would be like for people that are newer to business. Okay, there's one for $25K. No, I probably wouldn't want to do it. $50K, I might think about it. $100K, I might think about it. But probably even the $100K one, I'm not even sure because I don't want those hours burnt on that mastermind. Because what's $100K? I mean, most people can generally come up with $100K. So as most people in business can generally come up with $100K to do a mastermind. So I don't even necessarily want it if it's $100K. So it's one of these things where the price goes higher because you're trying to get your time back, right? So that's why there's even things, some people do matchmaking services. And the premise behind it, but I just don't think that they work in most cases, but the premise behind it is the idea that, that they would be screening. I just happen to know the going on of these matchmaking services because I live in LA and I know the people that are going in them. And, I can see that they can put on a good front, but I know what's behind the scenes. So I'm not really impressed by that. Although I think that maybe there could be some good ones out there and I'm open to that. And I'd love to meet someone who would make a good one. But, if I was going to make a matchmaking service, like I think I could make a really good one, but that's not what I'm looking to do with my time right now. So it's one of these things where, you're screening because you're looking to get really, 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 really high quality people. Fortunate truth is that people do change. People do evolve. You can meet somebody who's great at the time and evolve in different directions. Some of that is probably genetic, changes in brain chemistry, changes in, lifestyle habits. Maybe they start smoking weed, whatever the case, and they do change. And so you can bring people in your life that are high quality and then, they are not high quality, or maybe you yourself actually begin to lower in quality and you're no longer a connection for them. Maybe they also might just have different goals. Their lives have gone in different directions and so on and so forth. So it's one of these things where it's not easy to just like I remember one time, like my buddy Jesse, I think I paid $10K for that networking group, and he's been my friend for about 15 years. So it's like, we joke. I'm like, oh, I paid $10K to make friends with you. Like, that's kind of what I got out of that group, was like, I got one friend, I paid $10K. That's not uncommon. Right now, for any of you here, like take a guy like yourself, being at this event for free, this is a great place to start. We do free events to give you a starting point, right? And again, if you're watching this at home, for God's sake, click the link below. We do free events all over the country. We do a lot of free events all over the world. Get yourself to a free event. That's a great starting point. It's a place where people can actively, go do this. Now, people that have a lot of money, they'll hear that there was a free event that weekend, and they'll say, oh, I didn't want to go to that one. I just want to go in the paid one, because they actually instinctively don't want to go to it. But I feel that we have a rare situation where I feel that we do such a high quality free event that, even somebody who's loaded wants to be here and is happy that they're here. I think it's a very rare case, but that is a very rare case. Same way that we do all this like long form content and that we do all this crazy stuff that we do. That's just kind of who we are. But even overall, these events, I think, even if you're a millionaire, you should be here, but are really high level events, I think are at even that much higher of a level, okay? So if you're somebody who's serious about that, if you guys are in this room, talk to me about it. If you're somebody at home, shoot me a DM on Instagram. Start a conversation with me. If you want to start learning at the highest levels, shoot me that DM on Instagram. Let's get a conversation going, okay? If you're serious about your time, I'll show you how to save a lot of time, and I'll show you how to maximize things and optimize things the way you wouldn't imagine. That's what I do. So what I'm trying to show you, Jade, is I'm trying to show you basically how to think about screening and the mindset behind screening. And the fact that to get high quality people around you is an investment. To get great teachers is an investment. To get great advice is an investment. It just is what it is. That's just how life works as you go up the pyramid. The steepness just gets more and more hardcore. Okay, would be the best way that I'd put it. And so I think we've been on here. Could you move that little white screen down a little bit, Ibrahim, on there? So we've been on here just checking the time. So we've been on here for quite a while. Got a lot of people watching. I appreciate that, guys. Maybe I want to get Sam on here for at least one more, and then we'll kind of cap it around 2 hours-ish, and we'll probably wrap the broadcast at that point. So let's get one more question for Sam, and then if you guys could pass him the mic, whoever has the mic. Jean, you could roll over here. Could roll to about right there, please, and let's let it rip.
All right, so my question is, say you're like self-improving and you're moving up in your status in a certain group, right? How do you deal with like energy vampires, especially when how do you not hurting feelings or things like that?
Think about it, guys. I want to tell you guys something. You're doing exactly what I was saying about the free group. You've got a broadcast of all these people watching, and you're like, my question, give me this. My thing that I need to say to my buddy beside me is more important than like thousands of people that'll see it than his question than our time. That's the kind of thing that you don't see in paid groups. So you're showing an example of like the lower level behavior of a free group. I love you guys, but I'm just being real with you. In paid groups, that stuff doesn't happen. But hold yourself to a higher standard, okay? That's what I'm here. I'm here to show you guys that, okay? This is his time. If you're going to be in this room, let him have his time. If not, you can always go chat in the garage too, okay? Got a whole gym in there for you if you want to. Okay, thank you guys. Okay, all right, let's
Thank
move.
you. So
Just repeat, just repeat the question.
Okay, so yeah, so like you're self-improving and obviously like you're moving up in like your status in like a circle. You have some influence, maybe you're like in leadership, but like how do you deal with like energy vampires, people that are just like trying to get at you? Like what's the best way?
Give a practical example.
Like just like there's a certain person in a group that just like I can't avoid them, but I don't want to hurt their feelings, I guess, in a sense. How do you deal with that type of thing? Like when it comes to like pressure of like, you can't really like get them out, like you have to be there for them because it's like business essentially.
Well, it also comes down to what Owen said before, which is about your time, right? So I don't want to hurt their feelings, I don't want to do it, but they're taking your time. They're taking what you're worked for, you're taking your energy, right? So if you cared more about your own energy, you would be looking at that as a much more of a detriment to your energy, right? Now, there are people that come in your life and you can't get rid of. Family is a great one, right? And you just can't get rid of them, or some other person that it just doesn't work. They're in your friend circle. And majority, the best thing that you can do is limit the time with them. That's the best thing that I found with them. I've had people in my life where I just can't get rid of them. But the way that I can do it is I can limit the time and limit the environment and the circumstances that I'm meeting these people in. It's the best way that I could find it. So if it's a we sit down and then we have 4 hours disgust and they're just going to dump all their negative emotions on me, that's not a situation that I want to be a part of, right? But if we're out going to do something and it's where there's an objective and where we're going out, we're meeting new people, that's a position where that person is, not so much an energy vampire because they can't unload all their negativity. And so I'd be like, for an example, I instead of having a networking thing where I just talk for 4 hours, we go out and we go to the club because then they couldn't do that. Is that kind of, you seem like it's not the example.
Like situationally, like control more like the environment?
Yes, very much so. If you control your environment, you're controlling your time, you're controlling how you feel about yourself and allowing other people in to literally control your like emotional body, that is going to be not only a detriment to you, but you're doing yourself a detriment by allowing that to happen. So by you not wanting to hurt their feelings is hurting your progress. And so when you hear that, you're kind of like, well, my progress should be number one. And on a self-improvement journey, building your status, becoming, someone of higher value, that should be very, very high on your the priorities list. And someone that's taking that down, avoid that as much as possible or limit that if you can. If you can cut them off, fantastic. If you cut them off, there are people in your life that come and go. There's seasons in your life. Don't try to hold every single friend in your life. It's not going to work. Some are 5 years, some are 10 years, some are, for us, we were very well connected and we drift, we had our space, we've come back together. That is fine. That's the seasons in life. Don't be scared to let those people go because if you say you have your 5 people, you heard your 5 people around you, right? The 5 people make up who you are, right? So if you have one person there it's almost filling up a spot in your life, you're allowing no one else to come in that could make your life better. So if I say that, you're not allowing your life to get better. Then it's like, oh, well, now it might be a little bit more of a problem than I thought. So it's all the way you're framing it in your mind and going, okay, well, how much are they taking away from me? So if I said to you, that person, is it a good or a bad relationship? Like, well, how do you feel about that? Okay, do you see that silence? That means it's not good. If it was good, boom. Anything else but like, yeah, it's great, then that's not good. And that's taking away from you.
Yeah, and what you have to put in context is that you might feel guilty about it, but like, think about what we were able to create here, even just these first 2 days. We have another third day tomorrow. You guys all coming tomorrow? Yeah. Good stuff, guys. So we think about what we created here. Remember I talked earlier about the math that's involved in creating something like the free event, right? So imagine just the sheer time investment that it takes mathematically, energy-wise, effort-wise, to be able to create something like that. Now imagine if I'm just sitting there bickering with somebody and that one person is just consuming 30, 40% of my energy, and then all of you aren't getting that benefit. And then think about how whatever benefit you guys would get here gets paid forward to other people. And all that energy has a choke point on it just because you're allowing somebody who is basically a human black hole. And people are often kind of like a sun emitting energy or a human black hole. And everybody has a little bit of both, right? But it's a decision that you make every day where, you wake up in the morning and you're like, I can burn down my day, or I could think about how to add more value. And what does value mean? To me, what value is, it's a combination of like how much fun you have and other people, how much you or other people expand and become what you're capable of being as a human, and the legacy that you leave to other human beings, right? That's really what value is, right? We want to have fun. We want to expand. That could be intellectually, physically, whatever, right? And see things and have experiences. And then we want that process of us having fun, having experiences, to then lead to leaving a legacy for other people to have even more fun and even more experiences, right? So we have it to where modern society is meant to be this thing that adds value. Would hopefully, but in many cases doesn't, creates, but hopefully gets rid of, like, say, a lot of disease. So you don't have to just die of, like, a tooth infection. Like, imagine people in the past that just died of a tooth infection. Like, you just got a tooth infection, you're dead. Or maybe like you had like a cut, you got gangrene, you just died. So the whole idea of like modern society, even though it's got a lot of chronic ailments that came from society, like just a lot of like degenerative diseases that have just come from modern society. Ideally, you're not going to die from like a paper cut, something crazy. Like, stop and let it land. Like, there's probably somebody out there that died of a paper cut back in the day because they didn't have access to some things that we know now. Like, it's kind of crazy, right? You're like, well, some other person, but like that really happened. Like there's places in the world right now where people can't even get their wisdom teeth pulled out and they're just being tormented. Like, you might have hated getting your wisdom teeth pulled out, but I promise you, it could be worse. So then again, there's probably counter arguments that, like, if we didn't have modern society, our skull could like house the wisdom teeth. These complex arguments. But point being, okay, we'll go with like the idea that there's more value added, right? So you got to say to yourself, like, I live in modern society. Now let me make even a quick side point there. Like, are you LA based?
No, I don't live here.
Okay, who's LA based? Okay, so you're LA based, right? Yeah. So like, I ask this question like all the time. It's kind of repetitive, but like, have you been to Yosemite National Park?
Yes, I recently went.
Okay, so you've been listening or did it on your own. Who here lives in LA and didn't go to Yosemite National Park yet? Okay, so a bunch of you guys, okay? So like, say that you live in LA. Like, do you realize like half the point of living in this like concrete jungle is so that you have a road to go to Yosemite, that you don't need to take like a horse and buggy through the forest. You know, like, you know that like one of the big signs of California, like on the flag, is this big bear, right? But you probably haven't seen a bear here, right? That's because you would have been here. Look, I actually kind of wish that like, we maybe had some more bears here because it would show a healthier ecosystem. But the point is like, you don't have to worry about getting eaten by a bear, okay? It's on the flag. There was a lot of bears here, right? But there's not now. So you have the ability to just jump in some vehicle and shoot over to Yosemite, and literally you can just shoot right over there and you can be at Yosemite. You can, it's so cool, right? Or you could be, I just give these simple examples. Like, you could be at Sequoia National Park. You could be in Big Sur. You could be at Joshua Tree. You could be even in San Diego, bro. Like, San Diego's actually pretty sick. So the thing is like, it's one of these things where you've got to recognize, like, if we're going to have all the downsides of modern society, I should also get the upside. So I'd encourage all of you, even for homework between now and tomorrow, to be like, what's like the point of this whole thing? Like, if I'm not going to like sleep under the stars and like be in nature, which is actually awesome, and I'm going to kind of like live in this, then like, what's the point? Like, if I'm not going to be a minimalist who just creates like an ebook that does $1,200 a month in sales and then drive around in my van and do whatever I want, and I'm going to do this whole thing, what's the point of it? That's kind of, I'd encourage you to, think a little bit about that between now and tomorrow, okay? Like, if you haven't been to like the Getty Museum and you live in LA, like, you're kind of messing up. Like, you're paying LA rent, but you're not going to see LA stuff. You see what I'm saying, right? This is why during the lockdown, a lot of people left California. Like, I'm paying this rent if I can't use the stuff. I'm going to Florida. Yeah, my man. Guys, pass me out. Just throw it. Thank you. So it's one of these things where, you've got to be thinking to yourself, what is the purpose of why it is that you're here? What is the purpose of like life itself? And what does it mean to just create more value? Like, how do you just create value for yourself and others so that like there's a point to your existence? And this is really what we're here to teach you. Is like, we're here to teach you that. You're also here to teach yourself that and learn it from other people. But it's like, how do you wake up in a day and create things that other people care about, that other people will pay you for, so that you're adding more value, so that you can be more happy, you can do more cool things, you can expand, you can leave a better legacy, but that they can make more money, they can expand, they can be happier, they can leave a better legacy. And human beings, we learn from each other. We learn via osmosis from each other. And they say that you are the 5 people that you hang out with. Just think about how different you've probably become from like 2 days. Like, this isn't even the real event, guys. Like, 2 days at like the free tour promo event. Think about how different how much different you guys feel just from 2 days of being around this. What would you say?
I feel 100% different.
I definitely feel the difference.
Recharge.
It's terrifying how different I feel already.
Crazy how different you feel, right?
Yeah.
And that's from like just us riffing. This isn't even the program. You know what I mean, right? Like, this is just us like just talking a little bit of smack. And so imagine what it's like to be on the real program. Imagine what it's like to be around better people. Imagine what it's like to be around other people that are inspired, how much easier it gets. So that's what you've got to be saying to yourself is, how do you keep becoming somebody who adds more value, get around people who have more value, and then you become someone who's like the sun, as opposed to somebody who's a black hole. And if you're around other people that are black holes, they're infecting you. And so you want to find a way to engage with them in a way that is respectful, respects where they're coming from, respects them as humans, respects that they can evolve, respects that they can change. I had my ex-girlfriend here, an ex-girlfriend of mine from 5 years ago here last night, sitting in the corner here, right? And we had a relationship 5 years ago, and then it hit a point where it was no longer a value add to either of us, but we had a lot of fun. And, mostly because I was unwilling to allow, her to become a mom or to take it to the next level with her. And so she's looking at it like, okay, well, 3 years ago when I was in my 20s, this made sense with you, Owen. Now I'm in my 30s, and if I'm with you, if you're not going to have a family with me, it doesn't make any sense, right? So it no longer made sense. So we wrapped that up. That makes sense for both of us. That's not a win-win anymore. I don't want to be with her if it's not a win-win either. Okay, so it's one of these things where, but we still love each other, right? And that's why we're hanging out here and we are friends. but obviously you take time apart for a while. So you may have to have, time apart from each other, and then you get back to a point where you each kind of come into your own equilibrium of life and find your footing, and the dust settles, and then you can bring people back in your life. But I would say that like when you do a kind of like a what else exercise of like what else you could be doing with that time, it's just amazing when you realize if somebody's an energy vampire, just the extent to which it can really be toxifying you. And I can tell you that like I've had relationships where I got out of them and I watched our company revenues double almost overnight. It is shocking. And it's like when the Lakers got rid of, and I actually really like Russell Westbrook, so I don't know what's going on there, but a lot of people would joke it's like passing the kidney stone of Russell Westbrook. I had to say that because I actually think he's like this amazing player that's being really disrespected. He needs to find the right team. But it is interesting that like it's like, they call that addition by subtraction. And like, it's kind of funny to consider that like Westbrook's like actually a great player and he actually played his ass off for LA, but for whatever reason, it just wasn't the right culture fit. And suddenly it wasn't just the other players that they brought in. It was not having his energy there, infecting the overall energy field of the group. So you guys got to think about that too. But the main point of why we are here together and also why you're watching this from home is so that we can actually create some great energy together. And so this has been an event that was running from 7 p.m. until 1 a.m. yesterday. What time are we at now? What time is it here at this point? What time is it? 3 So it's about 3 a.m. Okay. So I want to let you guys get to bed because we're starting back up at 2. So this ran 13 hours today. Just a free event. This is how passionate we are, guys. It's like a free event. We're passionate. So this ran 13 hours here today. People are, caught the last couple minutes of like, it's funny, right? Like people watch like that last little 45-minute broadcast I posted, like missing all the crazy stuff that happens before. But, I just like to broadcast a little bit towards the end of the day. So this was just like a quick little Q&A session end of the day. But imagine if you would have been here learning from the proper curriculum. And we have these coming up in major cities all over the US and Europe. Make sure that you click the link below, go to www.selfhelpfreetour.com and actually get to one of these events that we do. It's a lot of fun. I can't wait to see you. I'm going to be doing Seattle and Portland next, Chicago, Hawaii, New York, Boston, Philly, DC, Dallas, Houston, Austin, Phoenix, Vegas. Julian is going to Europe in June. He's going to be all over Europe in June. All the major cities that you can think of in Europe. Click the link below and come and experience this for yourself, okay? Could you guys encourage everybody to come and actually experience this for themselves? Yeah. This is the last group, guys. This is the last, okay? This was literally packed wall to wall with the whole upstairs taken up. And this is the last few people that stayed up late, but a bunch of us will be back here tomorrow morning. Thank you for being here on this live. Could you guys give a hand to everybody that watched this live and made it to the end of the video? You made it to the end. That means you're pretty legit, okay? I love you. We love you. We're going to wrap this broadcast now. I'll see you soon. And I'm going to wrap it with them, okay? Peace.